but that would be one of the next ones that would be an open position, so.
So right now, we don't have anyone from my district on there.
From Commissioner District One, technically, that would be correct, because I think our at-large person and technically Becky from the school was
Right.
one, but could be considered two, so that would be correct. So I have two motions there, leaving blanks for you to fill in.
One question on that though, Barb, is that would suggest though that Heather would not want to, I mean, Heather will probably wanna get, so
I'm not positive, isn't she one that has?
I can't
remember right now, oh, I wish I'd brought that up. I don't remember if she's on for 3 or she's already gonna have completed 6.
Yeah,
She's
that's-
been on for a period of time.
The term would be,
Yeah,
I don't
She's been on
know.
with it.
we haven't been on.
I would.
long
No,
enough
we
to
don't.
know.
I was.
Is mine completed?
No,
I
yeah. That's a lifetime commitment, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't bring that with, but that would be, also a consideration. Also, we know that, Matt Welling has just, completed 6 years. And for those of you, that are aware here, the applicant is,
A relative.
So those are just things I'm throwing out for those of you that don't sit on that committee, because you do have a choice to make here.
Well, I'm gonna have District One, and I think Horace Sabine would be a good candidate for this. He has children in 4-H, their District One is underrepresented. Underrepresented. Say the word for me, I can't.
Underrepresented.
So I would like to make a motion that he be one of our, that be one of our picks, Corey Servine.
Okay.
And I do believe that Heather is probably in her second term.
I think
She's been there for a
some
while.
time.
So that one would be opening up in a
Are we doing
year
these
or so.
together?
Yeah, and
And District 5 won't have anybody, so
That would be,
Jennifer Welling.
and that would be fine with.
And they're, like I said, the sad
Even
part
though
is
that
they're all,
isn't a
all so
prerequisite,
good.
I think it's a good idea
They're all
if
very
we,
good.
where we can.
basically you can just say, hey.
so Matt, if you're
Next year.
listening,
Yeah,
come
Maybe
back
next.
around.
yeah.
Don't run away.
So I
on
make
us.
them, I'm gonna make, to move this along, cause that's what I do. To make a motion that Corey Servine of District One and Jennifer Welling, right? Is
Yes.
that who we're talking? Of
Yes.
District 5 be nominated to serve on extension.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion, it has been seconded, that we have Chelsea and Corey and Jennifer as our extension applicants here. Do we have any discussion, any further discussion?
Corey's a guy, right?
Corey, yeah, Corey.
I have one other guy on
We're
extension.
pretty,
Some real concern with the.
it's 3 things today now.
Yeah, I know.
Children's, women, and the DNR. I hope that doesn't get on the news on KLFD.
Oh,
I never said
Damn.
God bless walls though.
yeah,
Look at that.
wait a minute. Okay, moving forward, hearing no
Sorry.
further discussion, we will take the vote. All those in favor of Chelsea, Corey, Jennifer, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Very
And then
good.
the last item would be the payables that came out.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the payables.
I'm gonna second.
We have a motion, it has been seconded.
I have an
For-
email that I forgot to send, just sitting there, I never sent it.
Oh,
Forum Communications Printing.
Foreign
have a couple
Communications
questions
is
in
the
there?
outfit that
No.
we, use as an outsource to print the TNT statements and the tax statements. So they actually do the printing
Yeah.
and they do the mailing from their location.
Okay.
So Forum is what we use for both.
But it says postage and post office
Right.
box rental.
Oh.
Post office.
Yep. Postal box rental.
I didn't see that. We do pay postage to them because, they have all of the postage.
That part makes
So
sense.
I'm assuming that that code is postage and postal box rental, that the code itself is pulling that into the description. I'd have to look.
I'll
But
send it
yes,
to you.
they do, pay for the postage. We buy bulk rate
Yep.
and we do the bulk mailing and they do the sorting and everything. And Forum is a mailer.
I I just, the
But
only
we
part
don't
was the PO box.
maybe
rental.
physically
Right, I think
pay
that's
for
the,
them.
just the code that we use for that particular postage, but I can look at that, I didn't see that in that.
Okay.
Call the vote.
Post office guy.
Yeah, I know.
This guy, he's-
Hey, it's my retirement, right?
The post office guy would notice
Motion on
that.
Chelsea.
yeah.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote on the accounts payable. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion
Barb?
carries.
Did we do a motion to appoint Chelsea Brown?
Yeah.
Think
Do we-
That was
you
in-
read it into the same.
did.
motion.
Yep,
Yeah.
she was in there.
We
included
didn't
all
mention
three.
them.
Okay.
I
I
included all
had
three.
one quick question. Sealander is now doing outsourcing for communication work for the sheriff department, I noticed.
Mhm.
So that, I'm assuming, means we couldn't find anybody to fill.
Correct.
Okay. I guess if it was on there before, I didn't notice it till this.
That was the first time. I did see that on there too.
And are we still pursuing that position, or we're just gonna outsource? Okay, that was my question. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah.
All of it.
You Barb.
Merry Christmas, Barb.
Yeah. All right. Now we move on to Ariana. Is Ariana with us on the Zoom here?
I am.
Yeah, hello, Ariana.
Hi. And thank you guys for holding off on the break. I'll make this pretty quick for you.
Okay.
So today we have the 2022 AIS grants and the updates for the 2022 plan. Our AIS grants award about $120,000 annually to community-led projects, and we have about $100,000 matched by our AIS grantees each year. These awards are based on community need, the viability of each project presented, and the history of the projects carried out by them. The goal of each of these projects are in some way, shape, or form to reduce the spread of AIS between our infested waters and uninfested waters. In 2021, we had about 49,000 in allocated grants that were unused, and this was just because people were not able to treat this year. And part of that may be due to temperatures or reduced water levels, but ultimately our grants are fulfilled as reimbursement. And so if the funds are not used, they go back into the funds balance for this program. We have 14 different applicants that applied this year for 17 projects. 2 were tabled, and the AIS committee met on the 29th to recommend award for the grants as presented here. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, move to approve recommended awards for the 2022 grant applicants.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
And then the last item is the 2021 report, which is submitted as our 2022 AIS Prevention and Management Plan. And this goes out to the Minnesota DNR each year for the year that we receive funding in order to remain eligible the following year. Since our program is funded solely by AIS prevention aid that's provided to the counties each year, that is part of our requirement to remain eligible. So this plan gets updated each year. 2021, some of our highlights were that we obtained our decon unit, which is the first in the county that's county owned. And this was placed at Lake Minibel from mid-June through October. We actually did partner with community organizations as well to place some of these AIS tool stations around the county, and then launched our herbicide stewardship program, the first year of that, which helps reduce 2,4-D in Meeker County lakes and improve long-term control of AIS. Our inspection program was extended. As I mentioned, we were out on a number of Meeker County lakes through mid-October, and that was to help cover waterfowl opener. We carried out our early detection and response plan that was laid out in our 2021 plan. which was submitted last year, and that was to tow a number of Meeker County lakes to check for zebra mussels. Early detection just helps us target where our inspectors are at, which helps us reduce any kind of unmitigated boat traffic. And we did have another lake added to our infested waters list, which was Lake Francis, and it's downstream from Lake Sylvia. So this was sort of expected, but we did adjust our inspection program accordingly. Part of the 2022 items, which were highlighted in this plan going forward, will be that we are continuing our contract with PBS Pioneer. We are also continuing year 2 of our herbicide stewardship projects and tool stations. Our early detection and response efforts are going to be continued in 2022, and these will be targeted, taking into account the new infestation on Lake Francis. We are looking into bait disposal outreach, and that's going to be targeting specifically bait retailers in the county, and also continuing our inspection coverage and support of community-led projects like the ones that you just approved. Are there any questions on the plan?
So I just have a quick question. Did I hear you say you're gonna start inspecting bait retailers?
No, doing outreach. Thank you. So we are actually doing outreach with bait retailers. So it's in order to help them target
Oh, okay.
basically best practices for anglers. A lot of folks think it's okay to dump their bait in the lake when they're done with it, and that can actually transmit pathogens, which can lead to fish die-offs and destabilizing fisheries. And so with the invasive species, which includes pathogens, we want to make sure people know it's better to trash your bait or reuse it. And there's a few other options that they've done in other counties, such as the buyback programs or coupon with different bait retailers, but that's ultimately up to them. As a county, we just want to be able to provide them the publications at no cost, and then the appropriate information.
Oh, I heard wrong. I had visions of an inspector walking in going, okay, I'm from Meeker County and I'm gonna.
Show me your minnows.
And I'm here to help. Your minnows don't look very healthy. So I have another question too before we
Yeah.
approve this. Do we have a way, and I'm gonna confess I did not read the whole plan of action last night, so. Do we have a way of finding out if all this money and time and effort is doing any good?
Yeah.
How are we judging it, I guess is my
So
question.
I would say the best way to go about really evaluating if we're talking about efficacy, 2 points. These funds are allocated for this program, right? They can only be used for this program, so they don't pull from the county's general fund. But the way that I would say a lot of my colleagues and myself look at our efforts on a local level is, are we maintaining progress year to year with how we are adjusting our messages or tailoring our messages, and are we seeing positive feedback from the community, and what do those relations look like? And then also, what does our increase in infestations in our lakes, like how does that match up to the investment that we're making? If you kind of look at the situation in the Twin Cities, they deal with a significant number of infestations year to year that are new, and that can be attributed to a number of factors. But I like to think that because the community is pretty well versed in best practices, and because we invest strongly in the management of what we do have, it kind of limits the biomass that is available to be spread lake to lake. The other point I would maybe look at is where our investments are going in the community. So are we focusing just on giving folks funds so that they have them and they can decide what's best? Or are we looking strategically at how are we investing in the community comparatively with other states and local programs? So a lot of the projects that we took on this year, such as the herbicide stewardship project and the tool stations projects, were informed by either state efforts in places like Colorado, where they're kind of ahead of the turn, and a lot of Minnesota's practices are modeled off of them, or off of other counties where they've seen a fair amount of success and positive feedback.
So we're seeing fewer invasive species in our lakes, I guess, is what I was trying to find out, because this
Oh.
program has been going on for, I mean, I'm not questioning, I
Yeah.
could have been clearer in the way I asked this, but are we seeing, is that where we're making a difference? Because we're spending a lot of money, which, you know, that's all our money.
Yeah.
Is it, results, evidence-based, I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm asking.
So I'll try to kind of pivot that answer to more specifically address that point of efficacy. When you're talking about the invasive species that we have in our lakes, the goal is not to eradicate them. That is very, very rarely near to the point of impossible. That it very rarely accomplished because of the way invasive species function in novel ecosystems that they're not evolved for. So when we have things like Eurasian milfoil and curly-leaf pondweed show up in our waterways and we're investing these funds, we're not doing it to necessarily rid the lakes of AIS permanently. The goal is that when they are in active growing season, we are managing how much of that is being managed, so that when these boats come in and out of the lake, we are ensuring that we, as the county, are providing services for the community so that things aren't left to their own vices, right? A lot of people think, well, we just leave nature to do its thing. The problem is that people got involved at some point and we spread these species across the world, across different states, and so they outcompete our natives. And so the goal is to essentially use the funds that we have allocated, because they can't be used for anything else, in a way that, as far as the approach that we've taken in the last few years, improves long-term control. And so with the advent of certain manufacturers and I would say like industry leaders, there's been changes in different herbicides that are offered or different types of tools that are available to boaters. And so I would say it's understandable to look at it from a point of, okay, how much do we really have in our waterways? I'm looking at what's our rate of spread look like. And so far, we haven't had any lakes that become infested that weren't already on our watch list, that weren't already lakes of concern. I don't know if that's more.
Sure, all right, thank you,
Where'd you-
appreciate that.
Madam Chair, move
Yes.
to approve the state plan for Meeker County AIS prevention and management.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
You did
Any
that before I could
further
ask my last-
discussion or? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And then there's
Thank you, guys.
one more item here.
We had one application for reappointment to the committee.
And I will make a motion to reappoint Jean Putzier from Darwin Township for another term on the AIS committee.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion. It has been seconded for reappointment. Any further discussion? We'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jean has been reinstated. Very good. All right. Anything else, Ariana?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always just quickly do say at this point that we really are lucky, fortunate to have such great lake associations involved in Meeker County, because they all work hard, and they did before this money was available. I was amazed, because I don't live on a lake, when I became a commissioner, how hard these people work, so.
Agreed.
Kudos. I
Lake,
think we
yeah,
want to-
lake associations do a very good job.
And
Absolutely.
it's not so much that we can stop it.
No.
It's that we try to slow the spread.
Well, it's
and
fine. I
manage.
was just
Yeah.
wondering if there was any evidence
Yeah.
that we
I
had.
know.
Sounds like COVID. Are you talking about COVID or invasive?
Slow the spread, yeah.
I really-
know, until we get
All right.
the technologies
I believe
I
the
have
next thing up on your agenda
is a break.
Oh, very good.
Not in my glasses. Think I'm
Oh,
ready.
this
We
my,
are
uh,
reactivated.
Thought it was my job to
Can't
push
hear.
the button.
Yeah. Oh dear, well,
My
if
surface
we're all
dead.
back and refreshed here, let's open it up for Greg.
All right,
Yes, sir.
Morning, Greg Schultz, Land Use Director. This morning I got 5 different items for the board to consider. First one would be the Rafterville Solar Namcrest Properties, CUP extended for 1 megawatt solar project. The location's over on the Candy Meeker border. Familiar with that area? And they are asking for this extension due to, well, it's not for necessarily the interconnection agreement, but for the materials. They can't get materials. That's what their letter says. I think they'll be able to get materials within March 16th deadline, so they're gonna extend it out.
Move to approve their extension.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item I got is a rezone and preliminary plat for John Hootmaker for the Swan Lake Bluffs. Property is located in part of Government Lot 1, Section 2, Township 119, Range 29, Dassel Township, Meeker County. This is parcel 07003607003200. This is on the southwest part of Big Swan Lake. So the first part is a rezoning those 2 parcels. One's a 31-acre parcel, one's an 11-acre parcel. They're both now zoned to A1. Wants to rezone them to R1 to allow for the development of this 2-lot plat. So the 31-acre parcel and 11-acre parcel are gonna be reconfigured into 2 parcels. Lot 1's gonna be 18 acres and lot 2 is gonna be 23.9 acres. So it's a reconfiguring of the lines of those 2 parcels there.
So what's there? Is it,
They're both A1, they're gonna be rezoned to R1. It's gonna be 2 lots.
is that good farmland? Is it?
Part of it's farm. About 25% of it's probably farmland, the rest of it's bluff, it's severe bluff along that whole line and wooded.
So it's nothing that will ever build on down in the I noticed with,
Like a further development, and there was a lot of discussion, if you noticed in my notes.
I noticed there was a lot of discussion about traffic, et cetera.
About traffic, right now it's just gonna be 2 lots, we can't predict the future. But the neighbors are concerned that these 2 new owners will maybe lot it off in the future, more lots.
Which we can't
We
stop
can't
that.
predict that, yeah.
I was just, that's why I asked, cause I noticed there was a lot of discussion. But so far, it's 42 acres split between 2.
Yep. It was 2 parcels, it'll remain 2 parcels, just gonna be reconfigured different sizes. Well, the whole area is a bluff line, and actually, any structure would probably be, closest would probably be 250 to probably 300 feet from the actual ordinary high water level, because the bluff is so severe on these 2 properties.
Who's the current owner?
John Hootmaker.
So you viewed, of course, and Greg, and who was the other viewer?
And Corey Souls.
Okay, and you guys all felt this was a good use of this property?
Yep. For that
Sounds like it's been sale for a while,
long time.
or been for
I've
sale.
had calls on this ever since I took over,
Okay.
probably 100 calls.
Madam Chair, move to approve a rezoning application to change parcel 07-0032000 and 07-003-6000 from A1 Agricultural Preservation District to R1 Suburban Residential District. This rezone is to allow for the development of a 2-lot plot. In addition, move to approve the preliminary plat section for a 2-lot plot of Swan Lake Bluffs. The lots are located in the part of Government Lot 1, Section 2, Township 119, Range 29 of Dassel Township in Meeker County. Part of this property is located within the shoreline district of Big Swan Lake.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item I have is the final plat for the Robert Suzanne Lindblom Acres. It's actually called Lindblom Acres, and it's up on section 2, township 121, range 32, Union Grove Township, Meeker County. Parcel 1700391010. This is located just south of Lake
Lake
Coronis, Mud Lake there.
Then we just had a building permit. What did we just do there? Just in the last,
Plat and rezone.
oh, okay.
Last month. This is the final plat.
They have a shed out there right
You have a
now.
shed out there right now, correct?
And this is the same people, right?
Yes,
So this is their final,
this is their final plat. Yep. So if you approve this, then they'll get their final plat recording into the recorders.
We hate to not approve this if we approve the
yeah,
preliminary.
exactly. So I'll move to approve a final plat application for the one lot plot of Lindblom Acres. The lot is located in section 2, township 121, range 32, parcel 17-00391010 of Union Grove Township in Meeker County.
We have a
Oh.
motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item I have are the ordinance amendments. First ordinance amendment changes the content of the accessory building and uses section 22.03A.8, and that is going to allow up to 2 shipping containers under 9.9 feet 6 inches in height and under 380 square feet in the area to be allowed in an A1 agricultural preservation district property there, provided they are set back from the center line of roads 150 feet and set back from property lines 100 feet. This ordinance previously did not allow shipping containers at all. And what we have found is that many farmers use these shipping containers, have used them, and don't intend on stopping them, so using them. So we'll allow this, rather than having our enforcement guy going out and sending letters, we'll get this in their ordinance to change it to allow it in the A1 district.
I had a question when I saw ordinance. You're gonna come back, there's gonna be ordinance changes at the end of this year before next year, is this it?
These are the two.
And there was a public hearing on this, right? I missed it somehow, so I'm sure I must have gotten
It was
I
at the
like-
end of our meeting last week.
normally I like to go to those, so I
We had
guess
nobody show up for either one of them.
yeah, I must have just missed the email.
It was advertised with the planning commission meetings.
So we're not doing any ordinance changes on after the fact?
No, because this flew by all of a sudden and that's why I was so, and it's my fault, I'm sure, just being busy with things, but I thought, oh my gosh, the ordinances, normally I always, not always, but in the, cause there's a couple things that I think we need to start having some discussion on, and I'll just quickly say this, well, we can, let's finish this.
In the past, I believe most of the ordinance changes have been in the winter time. But the solar thing came up this summer that kind of spurned this. That's why normally we would have it in the winter time. We'd have the discussions in the hearing in the winter and have the changes in the spring for the summer.
But if we wanted to change any ordinances now, we would have to wait till next year.
No, we can bring them to the changes any time of the year.
It just takes about 3 months.
Yeah.
Cause you gotta have 3
But
meetings.
normally,
Yep.
I feel like, I don't know how I missed it, I guess, but I did, so.
So are you doing both these amendments in one motion?
Talk about the second item.
And I'll talk about the second one yet. And the second one is the solar ordinance, and that is going to be, and that is from section 22.24.1E. This is an add-on. E is an additional add-on to those section guidelines. And it states that any setback distance within 750 feet of a non-owner residence and 1,000 feet from an incorporated municipality for the construction of a 100 kilowatt rated direct current DC capacity or larger solar project requires a signed waiver from the non-owner residence or from the municipality. Signed waiver shall be recorded as part of the conditional use permit with the Meeker County Recorder. And this was basically pushed due to the proposal that the solar company had within that. If you look on the left picture there, and it's within what was proposed to be, the Dassel, expansion zone. Since then, the city of Dassel has annexed that property into their property. They did that late this summer in August. I did have a picture on the Waverly, of what Waverly had put up, and that's actually, they're only about 125 feet from those residents there. That's a large solar. So with our ordinance, so now it'll be 1,000 feet from municipality and 750 feet from non-owner resident without a waiver.
And I'm assuming that the Waverly one was after the fact of the homes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes. I believe that's been in the news in the past. Like WCCO News a couple years ago, I think the citizens were on the news complaining of the location of that sold project.
Cause there's not
Regular houses.
there's not a restriction, if there's a solar, 1 megawatt solar farm out somewhere and somebody builds a house next to it, that's fine,
Well, that's fine.
you know,
Yep,
but I
what we're
mean,
getting into.
yeah, exactly.
Wright County has a 100-foot setback in their ordinance, but anybody else, we didn't find any other setbacks. Yeah, but
City of Eden Valley went with 700 feet too, I believe.
we'll be outside of the.
Yeah, on their own.
Yeah, I'm not sure what email it is.
Madam Chair, approve an amendment to the accessory building and uses section 22.03 8.8, allowing up to 2 shipping containers per parcel in A1 agricultural preservation district, setbacks maintained, as well as an approval of an amendment to the standards for large solar farms in section 22.24.1 E, requiring a setback of 750 feet to non-owner residents and 1,000 feet to incorporated municipalities, 2 large farms without a waiver.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
We have a motion, has been seconded to include these 2 items. Any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? They carried. Motion's carried. All right, and then,
The last item I would have would be the planning commission and board of adjustment recommendations from members. Currently, for the planning commission, we have Jesse Turk, Michael Brooks, and Al Anderson, I believe. And then from the board of adjustment, we just have Al Anderson. Currently, we have 2 openings on the planning commission. And we have 1 opening, or Greg Jans also is on there as well from the planning commission.
So is Al's on the planning commission now, and then
No, he's just on the board right now.
but you need somebody from planning to also be on Board of Adjustments, true?
And that's Kim Hempel right now.
So that's covered.
That's covered, correct.
And,
Al previously was on the planning
Right.
commission a few years ago.
right. And Jesse Turk is a new one.
Jesse Turk is new.
Do you have a preference?
I don't know Jesse at all. He's new to the area.
Yeah.
He's moved back home.
Al sells real estate too, so probably has more experience. That's, District 5. Not me.
Al? Alice?
the Turk boy lives out in Forest City, so that would be my territory. Yep.
Right, he's right.
Turk's Trees,
Yeah, he's right
the
next to
son
the-
of,
Steve,
he's moved home. He is an architect. He's built a house on Grandpa's farm out there in Forest City, and a nice young family. You know,
my preference
I
would
would
be Jesse
support.
Turk, myself, just because it'd be a little more ag-oriented coming from a farm versus a real estate person.
And the architectural piece might be handy.
A
on the planning
benefit.
commission.
Yeah, I agree.
Differently, I don't know.
I don't know.
And
So-
Michael Brooks has applied for both as well.
So you're-
Michael was on the Board of Adjustments for 15 years previously.
And Alice currently, and you're talking about taking him off and putting somebody new on, is that, what am I missing here? I'm confused.
Miles, he's applied for the Board of Adjustments as well.
He's
Okay,
applied for
but right
both.
now, we're talking about the
Jesse,
planning commission, so there's just the two.
So you have 3 for the Planning Commission, or 4. You have Greg Jans, Jesse Turk, Al Anderson, and Michael Brooks.
and
Greg
Michael
Jans?
Brooks. And we have to approve 2.
Well,
He's
he
the
has
chair
to
right
be
now.
on there. How many?
You need 2 of those,
We need
right?
2.
Yep.
Because Chris Beach had moved.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Chris Beach had moved, and
Well, he said he's on.
he was up, and Greg Jans is up.
It's in there.
I know, I saw that, but I thought we were not
Greg
talking
Jans
about
is from District 3,
Greg
I would
Jans is the
think.
current chair.
He's
I
five.
think he's a
Greg is
pretty
five.
important part of that.
Greg Jans, okay,
Board.
yeah,
Greg is five.
okay.
I'm sorry, Beth?
Greg Jans is reapplied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has one term
There's
left?
1 term left.
Okay, so
Served 12 years, so.
I think it's important that he's on there for sure. He's a
I would've,
leader. I don't have any problem with Al or Jesse, whichever.
And these are 3-year appointments.
3 years appointment.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd be fine with Greg and Jesse. That would be just my opinion.
Are you making that?
Can I
I can-
entertain a,
Yeah, I'll make that motion then. And that is for the planning committee then?
that would be
Greg?
the planning commission.
I'll make a
Yep.
motion to, add, continue with Greg Jans and add Jesse Turk to the planning commission.
We have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, any further discussion about the planning commission, positions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, how about now Board of Adjustments?
So for the Board of Adjustments, we have Al Anderson and Michael Brooks.
Michael,
Applied for both.
And
We
Mike's
have
ser-
one open,
I think Mike was on there
was
till
on there for
he met his,
15 years.
yeah, and
He's
Al
had a-
is
He's had a
currently,
3-year break.
and Al is currently on.
Al's current. Yep, Al.
And I would be fine with Al staying there. I know Al, he's a
Yeah,
nice guy, he's fine. So I,
Is
in my
that a
opinion,
motion?
I will make a motion that Al Anderson remain.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, it has been seconded to have Al on the Board of Adjustments. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think that was it for that, wasn't it, Greg?
Yep,
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right, check that off here. Those carried.
Missed our administrator.
Now,
We're gonna keep him busy.
now, Andrew.
Yes, so the first item I have for you is approval of the meeting schedule for 2022. A couple things I wanted to highlight. Typically, we would have the township board meeting on the same day as the second meeting in February. However, there's a trial that's currently scheduled at that time, and so the community room would not be available, so we moved that up a week to February 8th. Additionally, we one of the things that I wanted to do as we were taking a look at the budget calendar is I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to make adjustments to the budget after the truth and taxation hearing, if something came up or if there were any issues that arose. So I moved the truth and taxation hearing up to November 29th. We have to do it between November 25th and December 20th, I believe. After speaking with the county auditor, we had a little bit of a concern about making sure that there was enough time for the notices to get to property owners by going to the 29th. So what I would recommend is that we actually amend that to go to December 1st. So it would be on a Thursday rather than on a Tuesday. And then lastly, once again, next year, the AMC annual conference is going to conflict with our first meeting in December. So rather than making that change 10 minutes from now, when we realize it again, just setting the schedule to be on that Thursday rather than that Tuesday.
So that'd be the 10th.
That'd be on the 8th, December 8th. December 6th, this is the Tuesday. It's already on
You
the schedule.
already
on
made
there.
the correction.
So what I
okay.
would recommend is a motion approving the meeting schedule as presented with an amendment to the truth and taxation hearing to December 1st.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the schedule with the adjustment of the budget and levy public hearing from November 29th, moving it to December 1st.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second?
We have a motion, it has been seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Yeah, we corrected that up in February, so the regular meeting would be the 15th, all right. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So next up, we have approval of a resolution approving our 2022 annual budget and property tax levy. For anyone who may be watching who is not at our Truth and Taxation hearing, what we are recommending is a 1.5% increase to the property tax levy up to a total amount of $15,747,803. That if as it's broken down, about 40.5% of the total property tax bill on average gets paid out to the county. The slide that we have on the screen demonstrates how that is broken out between the different categories, with the majority going to public safety, then social services, general government, highway and streets, and so on. As we look at the budget as a whole, we have almost $38.7 million in revenue and $36.6 million in expenditures. The large reason for the difference between the two is a one-time payment in American Rescue Plan funds coming into our capital project fund. So with that, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve move to approve the resolution approving the 2022 annual budget and setting the 2022 property tax levy.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion, it has been seconded. Any further discussion?
And that percentage is 1.5.
1.5.
I can never remember for some odd reason.
Yeah, does that need to be within the
Nope.
worded?
It's in the resolution.
That's all.
Okay, it's
Which is why, one of the reasons why we did the resolution.
to put it on the second page, so if we look at that, the full deal is on the second page.
That's the official legal document.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any questions? Because this is a resolution, we will require a roll call. Corey, may I have you take care of that, please?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Oberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries. Resolution carries.
Next up, I have formal approval of some items that are actually included in the budget that you just approved. All of them are personnel adjustments for next year. First and foremost is a 2% cost of living adjustment for elected officials and non-contract employees. This aligns with our collective bargaining agreements in 2022. We had some new positions that have not yet gotten approval to start recruitment for those, including a network administrator and the information technology department, social worker in our social services department, and an administrative clerk in social services, particularly changing that from a part-time to a full-time position. We also had a number of position reclassifications. An administrative clerk, moving that to an administrative assistant in public health. Engineering technician moving to engineering technician specialist in public works. Engineering technician specialist, a different position, moving to engineering design specialist. Administrative clerk supervisor moving to office support supervisor in social services. Changing the classification of the human resources coordinator to C52. And the administrative coordinator moving to office manager and accountant in the attorney's office. Each of these were reviewed by the Personnel Committee, the Compensation Classification Committee, and then ultimately the Budget Committee, and the full county board as part of our budget process, going back as far as May.
All of these reflect an uptick in money.
Correct, and as I mentioned, they're already included in the budget and included in the budget.
And all of these positions currently have people within them, or?
The six that have been identified as position
Those.
reclassifications do, I believe we were notified of a retirement of one of them, but yes.
And I'm gonna reiterate that this is a lot of reclassifications in a year. It's more than I've seen since I became a commissioner. And I believe I said that at the time. And it's a little hard for me to understand, and I don't necessarily remember everyone coming before the personnel committee.
Though the reclassifications did not, those went to the compensation and classification. The new positions only went to comp and class if they was not an existing position that has that classification.
That's my first thing. And just because I can't ever keep track of this stuff, the network administrator, that went before us, I read.
Correct.
And the social worker is the one that's being paid through,
This one,
It's fully
there was,
funded.
there was one that was caddy waiver, and then there
Right.
was another that was, I can't remember the funding source,
TANF
but both of them were fully funded.
so when you say they're budgeted, they're actually covered with outside money.
Correct. Well, I
TANF.
mean, they're budgeted because they're included in the
Right.
2022 budget, but the cost for that position
Right.
specifically is
Okay.
covered by outside sources.
And the administrative clerk, now this got a little foggy for me because, so they're taking what was a part-time position and are they taking the same person or a different person and making it a full-time position?
That piece is still being worked through.
But we're gonna lose one of those. In other words, we're taking a part-time position and making it a full-time position, but somewhere in there I thought we were losing a position, but we're not.
That was unrelated to this.
Okay.
I thought we were taking two part-times.
I know.
And making
This
one
was
full-time.
this was confusing.
No,
Gain
the,
on
the
that.
intent,
Now, there's a net gain in the public health, right? Wasn't that where it
Yes.
was?
There's a net
Public
gain in
health.
public health, yeah, because
or a net loss in public health. As
Yeah,
far as
that's
the
what I
fees.
meant.
Loss
I meant
net
gain
gain
is
for the
in,
taxpayer.
gain isn't taxpayer.
In this situation, the intent was taking certain administrative duties that are being done by higher classification employees and moving them to this position, which ultimately costs the county less, allowing those folks to do things that are more, that are billable, basically, so that we can get more reimbursement through that. Additionally, 30% of the cost of this position will be covered by the administrative reimbursement.
And we just had not decided if this would be the one that's doing the part-time now or if something else would take.
Yeah, there's conversations that the department is
Okay,
having with the
that
individual.
clears that up. Every time I look at all that, I'm like, no, something.
So, and all of these positions had the Medicare, the PIRA, and all of that factored into the financial, because when you look at our budget, when it was put out, only one of them listed that it was all, that was the human resources, said it included.
Yeah, though we ultimately included all of those costs in everything.
Okay,
So
so,
this was done, because we did this before, budget.
Correct.
so when we move someone from their current position into a new one, how do they fall into the new salary schedule?
So if someone is, say, hypothetically, someone is promoted into a new position, they would receive up to a 4%, or they would receive a 4% increase, or to the next step, whichever is closer, whichever is more, whichever is greater.
The only reason I ask is because I looked at that, the one in the county attorney's office, that's a $9,400 bump in 1 year. That's a monster bump.
That's a
But we have to
monster.
remember the reason is because what we're not looking at it as how much of a dollar increase is it, but we're accurately reflecting in the pay scale what that position does.
Okay,
That's
so,
what it is.
so a office manager has its own pay scale.
Office manager falls on the C41, which I don't recall what else falls on C40.
Okay, so this position, and I only picked this one because it was the biggest dollar amount. Where were they in the range before?
I don't recall what step
Yeah, I
they're
don't
on,
remember.
but the step was not changing.
Step would not change.
Correct.
I think a
So
lot of
again,
these.
as we were looking at that, where would they fall in there? It's, they still have the same experience as they were coming in, the same number of years. So by moving them to the higher scale, they're at where they would have been if 4 years ago, when we did the study, they would have been properly placed in the scale.
We're assuming they were improper.
Assuming that they were improperly placed. But
That's
as
where-
we reviewed.
That's where the debate always comes, so.
Yeah, and as we reviewed, and Steve and Danny can talk more about this, but as we were taking a look at each of these, what was generally found across the board is that information was left out of the tool that was used to determine where these positions were classified.
I'm gonna tell you, when we did this wage and comp study, this was a concern for the board at the time. And it concerns me that all of a sudden we have 6 of them coming before us. It's a lot. I've never seen that many. And I'm not gonna pick out, let's say, human resources coordinator, right? I'm not just picking, cause I like McAlpine, but she's still a human resources coordinator.
Correct, yeah, we had discussions about what the title should be, and that's where we all.
But I'm assuming, so what, because we went, I think, from a human resources, what's the other word I'm looking for? Director, purposely to a coordinator when we hired McKell. For reasons we don't have to get into here. But we moved her to a C-52 and she still has the same title, so what's changed? I'm not, I don't want McKell to think I'm, or you, but.
No, what,
Oh, but I mean, it's a legitimate question because I don't want this to be used to just get people, I'll just say it, somewhere up further on the scale because somebody likes that, we've spent a lot of money on this wage study, so that's why I'm asking.
we had a lot of discussions about this one specifically, and the request came in higher. We landed here as, the committee landed here, not me specifically, but the committee landed here in reviewing what the duties were as they aligned with other positions in the same scale. So this is one specifically where the previous incumbent was the one who filled out the PDQ, it's called. They're the one who filled out the form, and there was a number of duties that were not included in there. So when the consultant reviewed it, they placed it at a certain level, but it left out all of this other work that was.
But this, Andrew, is always gonna be the debate when you do a comp study. So I just think we have to tread very carefully because the reason we had it in McKella, is.
We're not picking on that one.
No, it's.
But I mean, we purposely went to coordinator for a reason. And some of the reasons we do is because we're trying to save a little money for the county. And so in the interest of the taxpayer, being in good conscience, I think I have to point this out, that we have to be careful when we do these things, very careful. A process of doing 6, to me, it's still overwhelming to me. I don't know how we ended up with 6. I don't even recall having that many
They were random.
people ask other years, do you? I mean, I've never been on
We
that.
do 3 to 4 for sure, I would say.
And it seems like they always pass.
A year? Is
What
this an
happened here-
annual
and-
review?
And this is one
Yeah.
thing I wanna point out, and this is, you guys can comment. What I'm seeing happen with this wage study, that it's a great snapshot of where you were, and I wanna say it was before me, it was right
It was.
before me, so 18,
Yep.
probably 17 or 18 it was done. And then you get the snapshot, well, what happens then, eventually you start to get, everybody's moving in steps and levels and you start to get a congregation. So you end up with a bulk of your employees and a relatively small percentage of that wage study structure as things move and as people promote and do things. And that was specific to the coordinator position that we discussed. If we change title on that, it was gonna affect like 5 other people, which then would be back here next year. And it's like, we can't do that. So that consideration is taken in and picked out, and how do we address that? Because as it starts to congregate in your county employment profiles, eventually you're no matter what you do, you're affecting other people.
So are all 6 of these position reclassifications still in existence within this county? So will we ever hire another administrative clerk? Or will we now start to hire administrative assistants? Will we no longer hire an administrative clerk supervisor? Will we, in the future, hire office support supervisors? Are these no longer here?
So I think there's 2 answers to the question. The first answer is there are certain position titles that exist in various places.
Okay.
So administrative clerk is a good example of that. This one position specifically would be moving from a clerk to an administrative assistant. However, there are other administrative clerks. We would continue to hire administrative clerks. However, this one specific position, each time that someone leaves a position, is an opportunity for us to look at how are we doing the work within this department. Is this position still needed at the rate that it's at or at the level that it's at, or can we do something differently? This is exactly what happened in public health when the full-time receptionist left And we took a look at how are we doing the work here? Do we still need a full-time receptionist? And the answer was no. And so we removed one position, took a part-time position, made it full-time. But because of the duties that this position is doing, there's a recognition of the fact that those duties fall at a higher level, the administrative assistant position. So the answer is, we will not have in social services, for example, the example you gave, the administrative clerk supervisor and the office manager. We won't have both. That's not the intention. The intention is that the position becomes this over here, and then we'll, reevaluate that when change occurs.
Okay.
So we're paying an administrative coordinator almost the same as, an attorney, I don't know what I'm doing.
$7,000, $8,000 difference between a.
So then
Assistant
that must
attorney.
cause an issue on that end of the scale, but how many office managers / accountants do we have in the county?
I think this would be, we have accountants in, I think, three other departments.
Social service.
Social services has an accountant, public works has an accountant, and then treasurer's office.
And their office managers.
They typically do not have, one of them, the social services one, has supervisor responsibilities, whereas the other two do not, and that's
But
one
they're
of the big
not,
differences.
the reason I ask is I never recall seeing this office manager / accountant listed ever anywhere.
Correct.
So we've created a new class then for that place.
It's a different position title to reflect the supervisor responsibilities.
So we created a new position. So somebody could come to us next year and say, the attorney's office has got an office manager / accountant. I do accountant and I have some supervisory, so now I want to be the office manager / accountant.
Those are the exact discussions that we have.
I mean, that's a lot of money, guys. It really
Trying-
is.
No,
it's-
I'm not arguing with you, but them are the exact discussions we have and the things that we look at, so we don't have that discussion moving forward.
But we're gonna have it because we've created a new position for one office in this courthouse. Office manager / accountant. We created a new position, and this is nothing personal, and I'm not gonna say it again, I'm just doing my job as a commissioner.
Yep.
So that's what we've done, and that concerns me. And when I looked at all of these together, I'm like, wow,
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money.
And on top of that, they're all gonna get a 2% bump based on their new salary.
No, that better not be the
Yes, that's
case.
the case. I asked Mikkel.
You're kidding.
I believe the dollar amounts that were included in there include that 2%.
Does it?
I believe
Yes,
it does.
I'm almost sure that's how we bring it forward.
I
They
believe because it
certainly-
would have gone
Because
into
it's-
effect as of
it's-
next year, so we would have calculated that.
Well, you better make sure of that because that happened here once before. And
But ultimately, you have to remember the 2% bump is not for the person, it's for the salary range and it's for the steps within that range.
Absolutely, but
And so if someone is moved into a new salary range at a new step, regardless if that happens on December 31st or if it happens on January 1st, they would be eligible for that 2%.
that's it.
Because
They
we're not
should just
creating,
wait.
it's because we're not creating, otherwise we're creating a new range. And so that was one of the issues. As I took a look at our old pay scale, it was a mess because there would be a range, say C41, and then it would be C41 plus 2% or plus 3%. And because there were things that occurred that had us deviate from that range. So one of the goals of the comp study was to eliminate all of that, simplify it, and stick within those existing ranges.
Will this new criteria, I've been hearing that if their job description included more responsibilities, then that is what is justifying the bump. Does it not also include additional training? Do they need additional certification, another degree? Those are the sorts of things, I guess, that I'm the most familiar with. If I ever got to move up, I had to get another degree. Or the longer I stayed, it was, here's your degree and here's how many years you've been here, and that's what determined my pay scale every year, was a chart.
Our positions require certain minimum qualification based on the position. We don't consider additional education when it comes to pay.
Oh,
So if you have an associate's degree and you get a bachelor's degree, that doesn't impact your pay. Our pay scale is not set up that way.
I see.
Right now, our pay scale is simply set up that you have, the C41 range that starts here and moves to here, and then each year you would get a 3% increase based on your step increase until you get to the top of the range.
Years of experience.
Right.
And I'm not sure how much reclassification occurred last year due to COVID either, because I had talked to Mike Hausman, who had my position before, and he said usually you get 2 to 3, but I don't know if it ever came up last year or not because of COVID.
I do know that at least 3 of these
They-
had been addressed in one way or another, whether it was with my predecessor or with the committee.
Yeah, and they were,
And
I also called my husband,
yeah.
so.
I know one of them, I think there was not a firm answer on. The other 2, I don't believe got brought to, the 2 from Public
Well-
Works, I don't believe got brought to the committee. At least that's what was conveyed to me when I started, and my decision was, I want to include this in the budget process rather than come at different times.
And
I'd
I'm,
rather see it in the budget process too, because now we plan for it. I don't
Exactly.
disagree with
I
that.
don't disagree
that's
with
why
that at
there
all,
was
but I
6.
think we're on a slippery slope here when I look at this, and it concerns me. And it can, and I'm, people can just decide, I really like this person, and I don't wanna lose him, so let me reconfigure what he's doing here and go to the class and comp and get some more money, and, we gotta be very careful about that. We're gonna hear more about this anyway. Inflation is up 8%, we're giving 2% increases. I mean, that's out there now, Andrew and I
Oh,
have
no,
discussed
absolutely.
that. But this is, when we start creating positions that what do you judge it by then? If we create, or human services resources coordinator, okay, nothing, what changed? Did her job duties change? I believe it, probably. Maybe she's doing more, or he is doing more than, I just think we have to be really careful. This is a lot, and we better make darn sure we know what we're doing when we do it.
Because when you apply for a job, there's a job description and a title.
Exactly.
And that's what I applied for, so that's what I'm going to be happy
Right.
with. But then a year or 2 down the road, or however long you're here, does your job truly change? Then does the title change? Or is your cost of living and your number of years your
mean,
pay increase?
It's supposed to be job duties, I think, that classify differently. So let's take a different one. Administrative clerk supervisor became an office support supervisor. I don't even know what that means.
No.
I mean, what does that mean? What are they doing? How many office support supervisors do we have?
It would be the one, but they supervise, I believe, 5 staff members.
Most of it.
All these are in the I mean, I wanna make this clear, this isn't like they come in here and there's 6, 8 people in here,
6.
6 of us. And they have to have documentation to back up the justification and what they're, proof of these duties that they're doing that aren't included in what they're described. They're doing additional duties than what they were hired to do. And
But if you-
in
but
most cases, they've been doing. So I don't want it to look like that they come in and it's automatic or
No.
that it's very simple. I mean, it's.
I don't think many
Quite-
get, but I will say, I don't
quite-
think many get turned down, and that's probably fine. But when we start creating new positions, then what are we judging it on? If we called, and I don't know if we did, but I'm just getting sick of picking on the same positions, so I'm gonna say, if we took an engineering technician specialist and decided that they're an engineering design specialist, do we have another one that we held that up against? You see what I'm asking? What is the evidence here?
I'd like to know who dropped the ball as far as their responsibilities that got
because-
laid down on this person now. So then do we take away from this person?
And then when I'm looking at it, here's what I'm
Where's the
thinking.
balance?
Okay, we have administrative clerk supervisor. How many people is she supervising? Maybe it should be a bigger department. Maybe we're looking at the whole picture wrong. But when we have 6 new positions, some of them newly created, it gives me pause.
And so those are all the questions that are being asked and answered by the compensation committee. The decision band methodology, which is what's used to develop our classic comp study, looks specifically at not so much what are the duties of the position, but it's more what is the decision-making authority that this position is provided. how much autonomy does this position have? And as you move up, as you become supervisor, there's more autonomy. So that's where the A, B, C, D, E levels all come from. That's the general category, and then there are groupings within those categories. So for example, in the C level, there's kind of two levels. There's a more of a professional type level, and then there's a supervisory type level that's slightly higher than that. But each of them carry a similar level of decision-making authority. And then once you get into the D's is where you start to get to your department head level, and then the E's are the executive type levels. So that's what the committee is really looking at, is how does the decision-making of this position align with other positions in the different classes or in the different levels? So when you look at the C41, there's other positions in that. I believe social workers are in there, maybe public health nurses. So how does this position align with the decision-making of those?
So it's got nothing to do with education or.
Exactly.
That you started out as administrative whatever, and this was your job description, and now your job description's changed?
And that's the key thing. The key thing here is they're also not looking at the individual. It's not what does this person do, it's what does the position, what is the decision-making authority of this specific position, and how does it align with others in that group?
It's more of a compass and a slide rule process versus personalities and
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he did a much better job of describing what I was talking, how as you take a snapshot on a wage study and thing 5 years ago, eventually it starts, your employees start to congregate in an area and you start moving in there
And certainly,
Having been someone who
I'm skeptical.
had to go through the process of getting approval to do things for many years of my career, I learned one thing. I never talked about the efficiencies or work that went away when I went in to get my approval for the new position. So we gotta be looking at what efficiencies have we picked up? What decisions are they claiming they are making that they no longer make because they don't need to? You know, that's kind of that mystery bowl also that, you know, I used to hide those. You know, if I, you know.
Oh, sure.
Of course.
We're all the same, you know, I did the same thing myself. I go in to get a position approved. I want to make sure they heard the story I wanted them to hear, not the other. And, you know, you guys got a tough job. Please don't.
Everything you said is what we
and me and
talked
I
about.
can-
so
I
I'll
will
be
say,
honest, so.
me and Danny had private conversation outside, you know.
I just-
Are we doing the right thing?
I get
You know?
concerned when we start putting people at some of the levels we put these people. And we have evidence now, you're gonna get it from everywhere, and it's not accusatory, but we have to look at a bigger picture then, if we're that off. And if you had 6 that you approved, how many got turned down?
I don't recall how many, I don't know if we had any that got turned down.
We adjusted,
HR, I think, is all right. Wasn't HR
HR
asking for
was-
a step higher yet again?
different, title.
That was probably our
title.
only
Title,
one.
and it was, I think a D61 was the original request,
Right.
so it went down. But yeah, I don't think there was any that were outright denied.
I think we just gotta be, because.
We
good
tried to.
intention-
I'll be
The road is
honest, we
paved with
tried.
good intentions. I believe you. I'm not, this isn't personal.
And
It's
when these
not.
department heads came in, they had to have the argument, and basically their argument is this position could get this elsewhere. And if we don't move this position, or this person, or this particular, what this person is doing, you're gonna lose that person, and then we're gonna have that battle of
So
finding to
most of
fill
these
it.
people have been in their position a few years, not a long.
I don't recall,
Nobody was brand new or nothing. I mean, it wasn't a,
no, we weren't
Uh,
creating
create-
positions,
no.
it's just trying to make sure that whatever that study was done really reflected it by having this class and comp committee readjust it and fine tune it, if you will. That was the whole point, is
and
what I thought, I don't
and
know.
the other reason there was 6 or brought forward is because of the change. Because we used to bring them forward at different times, they'd come at different times throughout the year, and with the way we did it this year, it was June or whatever they had to have
Yeah,
them in,
May
I
they had to
think.
submit. Yeah.
So we could look at
And-
them
and,
before
right.
budget, before, so it
That's
it
all a
brought-
good idea, but I'm gonna tell you as a supervisor, I can make any position. And I'm not saying anybody did, I'm gonna quit, I'll say
But how
like
many of
Paul.
your responsibilities then
Right, I can make it
did
look,
you put on this person? Then I could see an uptick
Yeah, but
But
then
then
don't you
do
have
we
to ask?
downtick your
Yeah, there's,
wages?
there, bingo.
So these
So-
department heads,
Exactly.
they're
That's
lifting these
exactly
people
true.
up, but then.
But what if I told you we took it all out of the administrator's salary?
Yeah, that's
I
coming up
would be,
next.
I would be fine with that.
That's next.
Yeah, no, I'm not, look at Andrew's like, I think this discussion is
You are
over.
absolutely right. You are absolutely right. So some of this is, you just have to be trusting. I agree. But I can make it look any way I want to when I come to you. I can do that. So I'm sure you guys are aware of that.
Well, I think we have to, big picture, as a county, we're doing very well. We're not a high-paying county that, you know, you hear it all. I live by Stearns, and I got jailers up there. There ain't no way in HE double toothpicks I would work in Meeker's jail because you guys don't pay enough. I mean, we're a conservative county. We do a good job with our budget. We have low debt. We have a very tight tax capacity rating. We have a lot of things going for us. And, I mean,
And I've watched.
I don't want to split hairs, but I mean, we're doing a good job, and I want to continue to do a good job. But I think we put concerted effort into this.
And I'm not,
to
this
be-
isn't personal.
No,
like,
no, but I want to, let's keep our
But I'm gonna
perspective.
tell you, since
Good
I became a
questions.
commissioner, the amount of employees we have isn't getting fewer, it's getting more. So I agree
I know.
that we have a good revenue, but we also have to, and I'm gonna, we need to find better ways to do things too. And I don't know if this is it, but we have to do that, and that's why we have to keep looking and making our departments smaller where we can, et cetera. Government has a tendency to grow, and like an ex-commissioner told me, the largest spending Board of Commissioners is gonna be the one that left last. That's how it goes. You come in here and you think, I'm not gonna spend money, and we do. But when we create positions, and these are already here, but even, we hired 2 new snowplow people today, or heavy, as I voted yes to that, I thought, oh, what has happened to you, Beth? I mean, but I do think it's important that we have enough help, but we gotta be careful here, folks. I mean, it just goes on and grows and grows and grows, and I think we all agree to that. So when I look at this, I'm like, we got 6 people reclassifying, and it's quite a bit of money. I mean, we're looking at some of these positions, it's quite a bit of money, so that's why I have the questions.
Just to bring
All valid, so.
some lightness to this, you did want 4 new highway operators.
I think there's a difference between being conservative and spending money wisely, and I finally, if you're gonna talk about that, if we're gonna have maintenance agreements, we're gonna have to be able to provide the service, but then they're gonna have to pay for the service, right? So that's another subject, but we
But
just
I-
keep
I-
growing.
But I think one thing I do want
For
to
our
bring up is
population.
that tax capacity rating, because I can tell you right now that I believe it was McLeod a couple of years ago, their tax capacity was like a $37 million and their budget was 54.
Yeah. And they,
At Meeker, we're always
And they-
about within $1 million.
and there's
that's-
counties that go with 0, until they look, and then they can't, and then they go up 10 or 15,
And then
and
it
we don't
hurts.
wanna do
Yeah.
that.
Correct.
But when we start hiring people, it goes into all of this, and this is what happens, that grows and grows and grows and grows. And we're gonna be facing, we had a CCT discussion, Andrew was there, the cost of living's going up, and you can't get people to work, so it's all there, but we have to find a smarter way to do business. And this isn't personal with you guys, it's
No,
just,
no,
I'm
it's-
looking.
I just
going,
want you to
wow.
know we did,
Yeah.
I mean,
Every
it
question
wasn't,
you had.
it wasn't
all
a
of
2-hour
We've already had it.
meeting and one
So,
and done.
I
It
And
was-
I considered that Andrew was gonna be the person, before they come here, that you are you're gonna look and say, you're not just, why aren't you doing some of this? Why are you putting it over on them? Like Julie said, why can't you do it yourself? You have to be the buffer for that before it gets, I think.
Yeah, there's several conversations I've had with different department heads about efficiencies within the department, and can we look at doing things in a different way?
Definitely.
Well,
No,
move to approve the personnel requirements, including the fiscal year 2022 annual budget, including a 2% cost of living adjusted for elected officials and non-contract employees, recruitment of new full-time positions, and position reclassification.
It would
Just
make
get
me,
it out there, then we can have a discussion.
Yeah.
it would
I
make me
think I
feel,
have a
it would
discussion.
make me feel better if I dared vote.
Well, you can-
No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna vote with you guys.
Second.
We have a motion, it has been seconded, we have discussion. Now, if this is approved, will this begin, do we have a beginning date of 2022?
It would be January first, 2022.
2022
In
budget.
alignment with the budget.
So all of these upticks will not be retroactive?
No.
It
Oh, no.
will begin.
Begin January first.
That's why it was, they had to be brought forward in May so they could be included in any budget projections and
To begin.
to be.
The first of the year, not a retroactive
It's very
uptick
seldom
for
we
the-
have retroactive unless a union doesn't settle or something. We've had that
Correct.
happen and then we've
Yeah.
had to go, I think that's happened once since I've been a commissioner.
Yeah.
Maybe twice, I
I
don't know.
think we may have done it with the sheriff's deputies this year where we did a retro.
Okay, cause then
Because
it
they
has
didn't
to
settle
go.
until,
Yeah,
well,
right,
we didn't even,
yeah, we had that. We won't talk about that either.
we had that.
Perhaps maybe next year we can have this similar discussion prior to the last meeting of the
Last
year.
meeting of the year.
Well, this is the reason we're gonna do the TNT at the, last meeting, or on December first.
Well, and I think we
apologize.
did
I've had this
discuss
on-
this a
I wanna
little
talk
bit
about it,
when
but it hasn't come up, I kinda forgot about it too.
I
until
think too,
saw
when
it.
you look at it all together, it looks kinda stark. It's like,
Well, we did have this discussion at the work session in
course we
August.
did. I
had the
remember that,
discussion
but
in
I'm like-
September, when we talked about the preliminary budget, and so.
and I did call, and I had called Hausman earlier about it, cause I thought, jeepers, I don't remember that, but they're all good questions, and I wouldn't wanna be you, but, you know.
Thanks. Now that is personal. Holy.
I don't mean it that way, but I mean, I wouldn't wanna be making the decision, but, and then who else, who else?
Be Catholic.
I
Oh,
couldn't-
really? Is it a Lutheran thing?
I
I'm
wouldn't-
kinda one of them, I'm not gonna say,
Married to a Lutheran, okay?
I'm not,
Absolutely left side.
Thank goodness she
so,
doesn't listen.
and who
to
else,
Right.
just quickly, who else serves on this,
The comp and class committee. It's the three other individuals who were involved with it earlier in the process. So our HR coordinator, our county attorney, our social services director.
alrighty.
I'd like to see the job descriptions of the supervisors now.
You wanna dare say
What
no?
responsibilities have they given up and passed down to their next person in order to? I don't know, that's kind of sticking in my craw a little bit, but if I give up a responsibility, but my wages don't change,
I would visit with the supervisors and let them walk you through something.
Yeah.
Cause I mean,
there was
they have to prove it.
justification of that during the committee meetings?
Yeah.
Okay, Julie Bredesen, you're in charge of, Department A, but now you want your associate, your assistant, to have higher wages. Well, what are you giving up?
Right.
What can't you handle anymore?
Well, and you have to remember that it's not, we're not producing widgets. There's not like a set block of responsibilities, especially when you get to senior level management type folks. Those responsibilities and the duties that person is doing shift regularly because they're working on bigger picture type items.
Or elected officials, we have no say on how they spend their day, so, right? I mean, I think they all do fine, but they could, we can't even say how often they have to come to work.
And some of this also has to do with 80% of county government is state mandated, so even a state mandate that may not necessarily cost us direct dollars
Yeah.
changes duty responsibilities to these department heads that they have to take care of other steps of things that they didn't have to do 2 years ago, but now all of a sudden they have to check them boxes for the best beloved Governor Walz. And, I mean, the
God
duties
bless him.
change from, so,
Yep.
I had to, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance.
It's 2 weeks in a row, I thought.
And
You apologize.
and
Ready to second it.
I feel bad.
Well, we have a motion. It has been seconded. We are engaged in conversation. Is there any additional discussion or,
The horse is dead.
hear any further discussion or questions?
I call the question.
Hearing none, we will call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so the next item is y'all.
That was
Oh,
a
boy.
bad segue into this.
So, included in your packet, one of the things that I identified as I was going through and working on specifically this per diem issue is that we're required by statute to adopt a resolution every year establishing the salaries and per diems and expenses allowed for commissioners, which we have not done in the past. And so to come into alignment with statute, that's what we have in front of you today. So included in the packet is a table breaking down the salary adjustments of the commissioners compared to non-contract employees over the past 10 years, as well as the per diems. And then there was a request from at least one commissioner to take a look at establishing a schedule for the per diem based on the amount of time that meetings are taking, basically half day or full day worth of meetings. By statute, you're allowed to take one per diem a day. However, you can establish a schedule. A number of counties have done that, McLeod County being one of them. So I included the example in the RBA outlining how McLeod has done it. And so that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
And I will just raise my hand and say I was the commissioner who brought that to Andrew's attention, because I take Truth and Taxation Day. I had 3 meetings that day. We did interviews all morning, had a ProWorks meeting, then ended up here. You know, those are the types of situations. They don't happen very often,
No,
but,
no.
you know,
Well, and I would, the only caveat, and maybe this is devil's in the details here a little bit. I don't have a problem with the split per diem. The only caveat would be it'd be multiple meetings. It would be the minimum required. You know, it's if you have one meeting that takes all day, it's not the higher per diem. It's because you traveled to do the. I mean, your time, your mileage is paid, but your time that took to go to a meeting in the morning, then you got to go to one in the evening across the county or something like MMDC is Hutch or Wilmer, or, you know, could be Olivia, and them are evening meetings, and you might have been at CMGTS out in
Buffalo.
Becker.
Boondocks.
So if you get a
So
full
I
day,
mean-
you get a full day though, you don't get you're not saying they charge for like if their full day per diem is $125.
So the way that, so I stole
Yeah.
their language. What the language states is that the per diem is based on schedule of blank dollars for a full day and blank dollars for a half day and or evening consisting of 4 hours or left would be paid by the commissioner.
But
So
not
if
both.
had
You
an
do
eight-
one or the other.
It's one or the other. So if you had an 8-hour day, if you had
It's the
for example,
higher
you had a meeting that, you know, took from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m., that's a full day. So
Okay.
that would be the larger amount. So it's looking at time, not quantity of.
Was my
Okay.
question. I don't have
so
an
then on
estimate for
a
this.
2 meeting day,
It'd still be the same,
it'd still be the seven.
70 perhaps.
So it depends, it kind of depends on how long those meetings are taking. You could also look at it and say that with the time for traveling, you potentially could have a longer period of time, so.
Doesn't McLeod go, if it's over 4 hours, then they
Yes.
go to the 125?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Any
exactly
day,
it.
so if you got 2 meetings that lasted some total of over.
So if you had, let's say you had 2 meetings here in the boardroom, one of them was a half an hour long and and then immediately after you had another one that was an hour long, that would probably fall as the smaller amount, even though you had 2 meetings. Yeah.
I know Manana Township went to something very similar to this 5 years ago.
When I have 3 meetings, I just pick whatever board I feel like has most money to deal with it out and go from there, because I don't like these discussions, but
How does Candy Ojai County? They're our other neighbor.
Candy Ojai County is moving away from per diems, they're going straight salary.
they gave themselves
An
a
option.
big increase. Not for
Yep.
me, it's not.
But what they did is they took a look at their average per diems across the year and then added that to the salary.
And then they
Yep.
divided all of the committee assignments up evenly.
They did.
So everybody had the same amount of stuff.
So I just looked at 2 months. It happened once in December and twice in November.
And
But it's rare.
It's rare for me too. Like I'll have a meeting at the hospital and then like one day I had 3. Well, sometimes I just can't make all 3. So I don't,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
That's what I
Like,
do.
I couldn't get to Woodland, and I told Danny, I'm not gonna get there. I knew I wasn't gonna, cause sometimes life happens too.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, especially this time of year, it's Christmas.
What'd you get me?
Yeah, nothing. This is it.
Lump of-
So I'm not unhappy. I'm okay with whatever you guys say, but leaving it like it is okay for me too, I think.
I know
Me
it
personally,
was-
I'll never vote for an increase for
I won't
myself,
either.
but that's just me, so. I never did it for the township, and I'm never.
And
gonna
it
do
isn't because I don't think that we
No.
deserve it as commissioners. I just think a certain amount of this has to be public service coming in, and it's okay. I don't, I was in the room when we discussed it, and it had been a long day. We'd had, like you said, that was the day of the truth, and we just had a long day, but those don't happen very often, and sometimes you do have to pick and choose, like crime health. I said to Andrew, I'm not gonna get there, and he went, so that's what
Like
we do.
last week, Emergency Services Board, when I went Thursday, that was yesterday. Whoops.
Whoop.
Missed that one
But
completely.
it's not personal to me, it's just what
Me
I
either.
think myself, and that's like,
Yeah,
well, whatever.
I
But if someone else really is passionate about it, I still won't vote for it, but I understand. That's where I'm.
If I had to make any sort of recommendation, it would be at the very least, consider the cost of living adjustment, because you don't want the salary to get out of whack too far, otherwise you'll have to do a larger increase down the road to get a little bit closer to what's appropriate, so.
That is something I think that all the because we've had zeros too, but you'll get so far behind that it gets difficult.
I was actually gonna recommend, my personal would do a 3 this year, because that then puts us at a 1.5 over the last 2 years, because we took a 0 last year, but I also like to be, approve the workers first, and we come second. That's the way I look at it, and so every 2 years, if we're doing our employees and we don't have contracts settled, then I'm not gonna take any dollars until behind that, so we do a 3 this year, that's a 1.5 for the last 2 years, which is a half point less than what we approved in our contracts. That's my thing,
I always like to just follow the employees, whatever they get. I'm fine with that. And there's been times we've done 0, and that's fine too, but I'll go along with whatever the majority does, but they're at 2. I'm fine with 2. I'm
Do
fine
we
with
also
0.
set the mileage rate today? Or is that
That's
set
by the
by,
government.
That's set by the.
we don't have to deal with that?
The IRS.
follow
I
the
should
Fed
say.
on that.
Correct.
They lowered it, now the gas
Yeah.
went up, did you notice?
I see that, but we
That's
don't,
typical IRS.
yeah,
That makes sense, so.
so we don't deal with that, yeah.
So if we do a resolution, that includes the non-union people too, right? Or
No,
not?
this is just for commissioners.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm saying a 3%, cause that's still only a 1.5 for the last 2 years versus the employees at 2. That's right. I'm just telling her, that's where my thought process, that's how my math came up.
Now, the suggested motion here states that we will establish salary, per diem, and expense allowances. What is an example of an expense allowance?
So if you, mileage is an example of that.
That would be, because I haven't submitted anything,
this
I
is
guess,
a-
other than
and I guess-
mileage.
If you had a meeting where you had to spend the night overnight,
I see,
reimbursement for the hotel.
so that the lodging.
There's
for-
meals too,
Yeah,
isn't there, if they're not
meals.
provided by whatever you're.
Yeah,
like-
which I just found out.
But AMC, don't they provide the meals? Like if you're at an AMC thing, they normally provide.
Well, not the first day.
Oh, they didn't?
Oh, okay.
Nothing the
Oh, really?
first night.
They didn't have any?
No breakfast the
Oh,
next
you went
morning.
down Sunday night?
Breakfast the next morning.
Yeah, well, you
You
weren't
went
supposed to eat from.
you weren't supposed
No,
to.
no, no, no,
either.
no, 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 no. Oh, no. It was a bagel, but they had breakfast.
It was
Oh, at the hotel or what?
Yeah, they
At
did.
the conference they
They
did.
didn't
So.
provide much. I was surprised.
That first
Usually
morning-
Well,
they take
normally,
care of it.
there's only one meeting on Sunday night normally, so I think they don't usually have a lot of commissioners, but
Oh,
I
there
thought
was-
they
there
always
was
did.
plenty of people around.
Yeah, Sunday night they didn't provide, Monday night they didn't provide, Monday morning there was a
Monday-
light continental breakfast.
Wow,
Tuesday and Wednesday morning there was a much heftier breakfast.
their price of that
So
conference
we
should
ate
go
twice as
down.
much to make up for it.
There you go. Buffet, here we come. All right. Well, I would entertain a motion on this idea. Anyone care to make a motion, or we have an example, but we need to set,
We need to know how to fill in those couple of blanks.
yep. We have the sample within our packet here.
Well, how about, I'll make a motion to approve 3% on the salary and leave the per diem as is.
You mean as is at 125?
No,
Oh, just
70.
70. Okay.
Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion, it has been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
And that's a 1-year deal, right? So it's,
Every year it'll come back.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
have this discussion again a year from now.
So our salary will remain the same,
No,
the,
No.
well, but
per
with
diems.
the 3%,
COLA.
3% COLA, and the per diem will remain the same, and we do not set the mileage rate.
Right,
Correct.
so that's 56 cents a mile.
And will that remain the same then for 2022?
Yeah, it looks like since I wrote this, IRS has set the rate at 58.5 cents.
They did raise it.
Oh, so
It's,
that went
it's
up.
the same as
That's where it was
2021.
a few years back. Couple
It
years
wasn't-
ago.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
58.
plus, they lowered it a
29,
couple years ago. I
2019.
19, yeah.
Yep, that's what it
2021 was
Yeah.
58 and a half.
Yeah.
58 and a half?
It was,
58.
it's gone down every year.
You can watch who's in office and you can see the gaps.
But it
You know
has
what I'm
been,
saying, don't you, Danny?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
it has been 56.
Oh, no,
all-
it was 56 this
All
year. Next
year.
year it's going up to 58 and a
Okay,
half.
yeah, I was
So,
gonna
yeah.
say, I wasn't.
No, no, no,
56
yeah,
this
that's-
Google was confusing when I typed it in, so.
I don't know if
Google
they,
is easily confused sometimes.
well, any additional discussion?
Excuse me.
Hearing none, this is a roll call. Corey, please?
This is a roll call.
It is, it's a resolution. Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Nay.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Olberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes,
Commissioner Bredesen.
Yes. Resolution passes. Okay. All right.
All right, next up, we have a continuation of our discussion from the last meeting about the letter of intent to leave prime health insurance pool, included in the packet, an updated letter based on the discussion that we had last time.
And I did appreciate the wording with the 2 paragraphs in the new letter. Thank you, Andrew. That went well, or maybe Mikkel typed that up. I'm not, was it a joint effort? Oh, okay.
I'm assuming you had a discussion with Matt.
I did, yes.
Do you wanna fill us in on how that?
Yeah, so the discussion I had with him, we talked a lot about the intent of Prime Health when the pool was created, and a big piece of it was stability. And it was finding that stability in rate increases, because what we'd been seeing was swings, of 15%, and then the next year 1%, and it was difficult to budget. Additionally, one of the goals was to have those rate increases be identified earlier in the year than what the co-ops or other private insurers were doing, which is why they're setting their rates in July. So that was the goal. And what we have seen is that goal has been successful. We've seen relatively stable increases each year, and we've been able to get that earlier in the year. Additionally, as the pool continues to become established, there is the intent that that money will, and the reserves reach a level that's sufficient, that money would be reinvested back into the members. So either that would be in deferring premium increases or through wellness programs such as health fairs or different wellness activities. The other piece that we talked about was the timing. And he'd indicated that they would really need to know by July 1st whether or not we would be in or out for the next year. As you recall, when our insurance broker was here, he'd indicated that August or September would be the time that we'd be going out to RFP. We, McKell, then learned that Hubbard County, which is another member of Prime Health, who's shopping, had received commitment from the same broker that they would be able to do it earlier in the year and get them that answer by July 1st. So I had a conversation with Bill and Mari, who were here a couple meetings ago, and they had indicated the way that they're doing that is they're essentially going to enter into an 18-month contract with whatever insurer that allows for a price adjustment 6 months through the year so that they can know what those pricing is and lock it in earlier than what they would otherwise. He said that by doing so, there is risk that there may not be as many providers who are providing bids, but that's an option that we have. And so ultimately, part of the conversation I had with Matt as well is the Prime Health Board really needs to establish when, for those who are shopping, what do they need to do? What sort of notice they need to provide by a certain date? And is that July 1st deadline going to be a hard deadline? Is it not going to be a hard deadline? We don't know. And ultimately the reason is because those commissioners who serve on the board have not yet had this discussion, and it would likely occur early next year. So by approving the action that's ahead of us today, it would start that ball rolling so we can go through and at the very least do that price shopping in May and June and have an answer of what that would look like by the beginning of July. If we're able to push that time frame back because Prime Health is able to move that time frame back, then we could consider doing so as well to provide a little bit more certainty and security and not have that mid-year rate increase that could potentially occur.
Now, Prime Health would also be one of those
We would request
vendors.
we would certainly request a bid
Give us
from
a bid.
Prime Health and
Give us a bid. So then they would let us back in,
potentially.
hopefully.
Potentially. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason as of we're sitting here today to say that I don't believe that they would, but they also don't have to. They don't have to bid on it.
They don't have to bid on it. Okay.
I would assume that they're getting phone calls from every county involved because of 5 years, we all went in this together and this is, or maybe not. Maybe they're happy with their rate and they're staying.
I know.
So I shouldn't assume that.
Yeah, I know that at least, Matt hadn't dove into discussions that he's had with other counties. He said he is expecting to receive some letters. He had not received a bunch of letters at that point. He did know of at least one county that was not going out and shopping, and they're, I think, the largest of the group.
And did you talk to him? Because I have, but the idea of 5 years, I think, is going to be an ongoing discussion. And I'll just reiterate, we're at that table doing that discussion. So the 5 years was perfectly understandable when we started this.
And thank you for mentioning that. That is a conversation that we had as well. He reiterated what he had shared with both of you when you guys met after the Prime West meeting. That, again, it's a decision for the Prime Health Board to make, but he could see that as being a reasonable option. There would be other things that they'd want to look at as part of that contract amendment, as far as securing obligations after the member had left and potentially a freeze out period after the member had left so that you can't run away with your good risk to chase a rate and then run back.
And then run back and forth. They can't allow that because if they do it, it's the purpose of the whole group.
But you also lose your seat at the table effective January 1st.
Correct. Unless the board elects to allow that member to vote.
Oh,
So January 1st, we will not have a voice at Prime Health. We can go to the meetings, but we won't have a vote.
okay, there would be no vote, but still, we would have access to the goings-on or not?
Potentially.
Not
He
sure of
said
that.
they could, the board could approve to let you.
Could, yes.
Could. It's
Yeah, they don't have to.
potential. I made a phone call over to Renville too, talked to Bob Fox. And he said, he said, we're probably gonna leave, but he said if they did adjust the 5-year deal, he said, I won't say if it was a 2 or a 3, he said, I won't say that we'd leave. He said, I won't say that's a slam dunk. So, I mean, the terms are the things that are a sticking point for counties in general.
So they're not upset about the penalty the hospital had to pay? Did he mention that at all? Cause I'm gonna
He
tell
talked
you,
about that a
it
while
was a
back
bone
one
of
time.
contention.
But
at-
but it's just his comment in general, he said was, if the terms were different, he said, I won't say for certain that we would leave, he said.
Yeah, when I talked to him last Monday, one of the reasons was that fight they had over leaving and that fine that they had to pay. And then I said, well, Bob, you think you're gonna get a better rate? And he said, I don't know, maybe. But he said, is there gonna be something hidden we're giving up that we're not, is there a coverage that's not gonna be there that we didn't see? Is there something like that? He said, you get a better deal, there's gotta be something missing.
The discussion probably should have been, and because of COVID probably wasn't, although everything gets blamed on that, was probably 6 months ago, the Prime Health Board should have had a discussion about the 5 years.
Yeah, the Prime Health Board had a discussion about the length of notice that would have to be provided, and they decided at that time to stick with the 12 months. But yeah, there wasn't a discussion about the.
I understand the 12 months too, because if, you've got liabilities but personally, my gut tells me that that 5 years isn't gonna stay in because the board members that are controlling that aren't gonna want to, and they've got plenty of money now, so, I mean, that could change, but I think they're doing pretty well. So, I see good things happening here, but.
Now, even if we submit this letter of a potential intent, we are still covered under contract with them for health insurance for our people through the end of next year?
Correct.
Absolutely.
I mean, I personally think this letter is a great compromise from what we talked about, and I think this will actually hopefully push the envelope of saying, 5 years is a little long for a member who's already there, It seems it just seems too long with no actual, pricing out, with any securities, and I think signing this letter will push that envelope to actually get some resolved, and I think all the counties will be a little more happier, and I think it'll be more positive all around for the whole group.
Well, not to look backwards, but we had the co-op in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017, and you see what we were paying?
No,
And we never had this and now we're at a low rate, which is what all of us got together and begged them, and actually this came up many times before, I'm sure Matt will tell you this was a lot of work, and counties really wanted to do this because of what I just read off to you. And I fear that if we start a fire sale here and everybody's going to look, that this is all gonna fire apart. I just think we're good where we are. We're at I'm just reiterating the same things you are, so
Yeah, no
I
doubt,
haven't
but-
budged on this. I appreciate that the letter is softer, but we
I think
copied somebody else's letter
Well, I
anyway,
think the letter
so.
is accurate to our intent. I mean, I don't think the original letter was accurate to what
No.
our intent was, so.
I personally didn't want it that hard, but that's what they were asking at the
Well,
time.
Yeah.
Andrew got a copy from Renville,
Right.
and now
I
Renville
know.
is,
That's just-
Renville is supposedly saying they don't know if they're going or not, so.
And I like that it says that we desire that Prime Health be included in our request for
Yeah,
proposals.
yeah.
We want them to place a bid with us. So, yeah.
And like I said, chances are, I don't know, I'd say I have no idea. I really have no idea. How can you guess health insurance
Oh, boy.
as far
I
as
think we
premiums go?
I think we should just get a motion out there, let's vote on it and move on. We beat this horse to death.
Yeah.
Let's vote on it, let's get it over with.
I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of intent to leave Prime Health, effect, or give notice to them. Approve the letter that Andrew, drafted.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Any additional discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Nay,
Nay.
It's not unanimous, but it did pass. Motion carries. All right. Public Health Advisory Board.
Yes, next up, we have an appointment to the Public Health Advisory Board.
Okay, before we move on, and I should have asked this, Bill is gonna be doing what? I'm not interested in 18-month promises that can be changed a few months later. That to me doesn't add up, not at all. So, and I'm very concerned about coming in here, and you talk about 5 years where we have some, they're gonna lowball us, and then in 2 years. So I hope we aren't finagling it that way. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
So I think one of the questions that we should ask is, do we have a desire to solicit proposals for insurance broker?
From what?
Or
Solicit a proposal for insurance broker and not
No.
potentially use that.
Well, yeah.
do we have a?
So that means we're looking around for a new broker? Yep, I got that desire, absolutely.
Okay, because is Bill currently the person that does
Currently
our-
is,
searching?
Has
we
for
go through
years.
this
For a fee, we pay him to do this.
through the insurance
Through the
premiums.
It's, yeah.
The members pay
No
the fee.
different than your agent, he gets a commission.
He gets paid
I
by
see.
Prime Health, right?
Yeah.
No, he gets, well, yes, ultimately, yeah, the dollars
Through
come
the-
directly
Well,
from
it comes
them.
out of.
But it comes
I
out of
was
the
told it
members'
comes out of
premiums.
the
Right.
members, well, that's
does.
our employees.
Yeah. The check comes from Prime Health, but
He
it's
gets,
being taken
somebody
out.
once told me he doesn't get paid anything. I said, everybody gets paid something.
It comes from
So-
someplace.
I gotta hire him in my.
But, and nothing personal, but this is a new day and it might be good to solicit a little bit to get some new ideas.
We can
Cause when
definitely
I look at our numbers, just me personally, and I wanna stay where we are, that doesn't change, but if you look at, then maybe we should be looking into some self-insurance too. I have PEEP, if you look at here, PEEP isn't, I mean, we'd all be under one, but
I think the
holy
intention
moly.
would be, in order to have an apples-to-apples comparison with Prime Health, we would want to solicit plans that are set up the same as what we have
That's
from
right.
Prime Health.
We
So
have
I
to
don't,
have a
I don't,
checkup.
I don't envision that we would make change to our plan design. Changing the plan design can certainly affect the price. The higher deductibles you have, the less premium you need, and vice versa. So there's that as an opportunity. However, in order for us to have a true comparison, we would have to be able to go out and say, this is exactly the same. So that's why I would say, I would envision, at least for this year as we go and shop, that we wouldn't change anything. If we do change, or if we do move away from Prime Health, I think at that point, the opportunity is there to potentially make some changes in our plans in order to maybe be more efficient.
Can't we take our current contract and go to this company, this company, this company?
That's
and
exactly
say-
the idea.
Yeah,
I mean,
at a bare
I've done
minimum,
that.
and hope maybe it'll give the employees a better plan,
Well, but
right?
that's
If
what I'm
we're
saying
gonna
is
bet
that
a
we
better
would.
plan, then that's not where I.
No, what is that?
It-
What does
no.
that be?
Better value.
Better value, I'm
Well,
sorry, I
maybe,
meant,
but if we're not gonna bid apples for apples to start with, this just changing 200
No.
people over to health insurance
no,
was not
I
easy,
think
so.
you're,
Well, maybe I misinterpreted what you
what I'm
said.
saying, just keep it simple, right now, for most families, is it 6,500 deductible?
Yeah.
What if there's a group out there at 6,000 deductible and the same dollars out or something like that,
So-
or whatever, a little cheaper? I would say, okay, I would entertain that. Nothing like saying, okay, now we're gonna change it to 7,500 and they're cheaper.
Well, you
And
can't
like
do
going,
that.
that's what I mean. I don't,
But so what we want to look at with this is that the premiums and the deductibles are clearly linked, right?
Yep.
So the higher deductible you have, the lower your premiums have to be, because you have to bring in less dollars to cover those medical expenses, because the member is taking on more of those medical expenses early on. To be able to, if someone was to say, okay, we're gonna have a $6,000 deductible, then whatever premium that is, you can't truly compare it to the other premium because the deductible is different. So you have to have the same plan design to be able to accurately compare, this plan cost you this much here compared to this plan cost you this much here. We could, because we might find that it's cheaper elsewhere for the same plans that we have today. That's my concern about changing the plan design, if we were to do that.
Well, and any company bidding this should not have our current pricing structure. Prime
No.
Health earned their pricing structure.
Yes,
Now,
they
you go
did.
bid it better
Well,
on your own without knowing what we're paying.
Exactly. What they would get is the plan design, which is the deductibles. I don't know. I'm not 100% certain what the standard practice is.
They try to get the inside information
Of
about
course
it.
they will.
They'll try.
Yeah.
Cause that's what they,
Any good salesman will.
but when we tried,
It's
we
not fair
struggled.
to
When we tried from the co-op, it was a
Not with
struggle.
anybody, no.
So, we're putting them in a, so now, another subject, so as of January, we don't have to attend Prime Health Board meetings anymore.
Probably still be a good idea to do so. I mean, I'll go.
I mean, but we're not, we can't,
It's good to be part of the discussion and see how that's, because there's gonna be topics like the term of the contract.
but we can't vote on them or give a opinion or,
You don't think your
Unless-
opinion will count?
it doesn't seem to.
Well, no,
It's discretionary whether
Yeah.
they would allow you to vote or not.
So as far
I'm
as,
just saying though, I feel kinda like, just from the, this is hard for me, as you can tell, because number one, I think it's a huge error on our part, and I really think we're going down a road here and that we're gonna get a good bid, and then it's a lot of work switching everybody over, cause I was here on the ground floor when we went there. And that was a lot of work, it took a lot of meetings, you just don't say I'm switching 200 people over, there's more work to it than that, obviously. And so I feel kinda like, I don't know why they'd want us, I mean, I support them because they've done what we asked them to do, and now I feel like we're stabbing them in the back, so.
But for the next year, we're still covered by them.
Sure,
so
but we've
we
lost our,
still should
but we
have a-
don't have a no, we don't have a voice.
But-
You're gonna be covered by Blue Cross, you don't get to go to the board meetings, Julie. We lost that now. We can go, but we're no longer gonna be an owner when we leave there. We're telling them, we're looking for a cheaper way to do business than you, so we're not, it's like, I have Blue Cross Advantage, they do not invite me to their board meetings. I don't get to attend, so.
So even though we're still a part of the pool through the end of next year, they
The
won't.
decision-making will be, I mean, they're not that kind of people, so obviously we'll go and we'll talk, we'll listen, but
Yeah.
they could look and say, well, you've made your decision, you're bidding elsewhere, so.
Well, why would you
Not
wanna have
saying they
somebody
will.
voting if they have no skin in the game after,
Yeah.
you know? I wouldn't want someone sitting out there who isn't gonna be with me, making decisions about my company.
We're not
But
saying
we
we won't
don't
be with,
know we're not gonna
we're
be
saying
there
we're
yet.
comparing.
Yeah, but
We're gonna be there for a
Because
whole
we have to
year.
do due diligence to the taxpayer
we should do
and to
that, and
management
I
and
agree.
to the employee.
And we should-
And I think that's all we're exercising here. We're not
That's what I feel
exercising,
like.
this isn't.
We're exercising one of the lowest rates we've ever paid. We've decided now that that isn't good enough, so we're gonna look at elsewhere over 5 years. This is just a discussion that
Oh,
we should,
sure.
it's voted on now, so it doesn't matter,
No,
but.
that's all good.
But so we can go to the meetings if we want, I'm sure they're not gonna kick us out, but we really aren't gonna have a voice.
so on the insurance broker piece, is there general consensus from the board that you would like me to go out and get proposals from other brokers in addition to NIS?
Do you think it's important?
I think that, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Then I'll make a
That's a-
motion that we get bids on a new
What I'm
insurance
saying, yes.
broker,
Yeah,
on a different
second.
insurance. And will they bid it too then?
We can ask them to.
Well, do we have to?
We don't have to, but we can ask them to.
I feel like I have to say that I heard different stories depending on the audience with our current brokers, so that bothers me, so.
Well, 6 brokers ought to be able to bid this, and you take the least expensive one.
Do we truly need a broker?
yeah, I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
You have to have a
Yes.
broker.
because I can tell you this, I'm not enough of an expert in insurance, Mikkel's not enough of an expert in insurance to go do this process.
For this
Absolutely.
large
Yeah.
a pool.
And they provide services outside of doing
I
this,
don't think he
this
should be.
pricing
I think
proposal. They provide a lot of other services for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Could you tell
it's,
them? Cause I haven't liked
You
them
gotta have
since
a
the first
broker.
time I had it.
We have a motion. It has been seconded to instruct Andrew to find us a insurance broker. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now we have this one appointment to the Public Health Advisory Board. We have an applicant for it. And it is a reappointment.
I'm gonna make a motion to reappoint Louise Brooks to, Public Health Advisory Board. Louise is a past, RN, I think she probably does a good job, so.
second?
We have a motion. It has
Probably, I'm sure she does.
seconded. Is she currently on the board?
Yes,
Okay, she's currently on the board. And has time in her term yet
She's
for another
retired,
term. And I see there are 2 openings, but we only had 1
Correct.
person come forward. But we will still be within the number necessary. I see. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My only report is as a reminder, on Friday, December 24th and Friday, December 31st, the county's offices are closed in recognition of the Christmas and New Year's holidays.
And are we doing a work session in December?
Yes, we are gonna have a work session next week. We have a few items that need to be discussed.
And I'm just gonna put this out there, and it's fine, I'm not against coming and spending time on a work session. But when we started work sessions, there was none, nobody had them. So it's fine if we have things to talk about, it's also fine if we don't have one every month, so.
I would say that we
I mean, everybody's time is valuable, and I'm willing to do whatever I have to do, but I think there has to be a limit on what we're doing here, so.
we have a number of items in the hopper. that need to be discussed.
How do you decide what's in the hopper, by the way?
It's through, so every month we have a meeting with department heads, which we're having tomorrow, where we talk about items that are coming up on the agenda. It's one of the topics of every single monthly meeting. And then I work with department heads to identify what are we gonna discuss, when are we gonna discuss it. So, for example, one of the items that we're gonna be discussing next week is how the county board would like to proceed with developing a policy for the vaccine mandate that was just upheld by the Sixth Circuit Court over the weekend. So,
Might skip that one.
What's going back to court again, so.
I thought it was just a bingo machine.
Going back to court again.
Andrew,
Wait a minute.
Corey digs in, B32, oh, crap.
Yeah.
COVID talks for
You might wanna give,
employees.
while you're doing that, you might wanna call, when you have time, maybe give Kurt a call. He has, ask him what they're doing up there. He has a pretty good answer for it,
Sure.
I think.
So how big is this hopper you have?
And that's my question. I mean, I think some things are very necessary and fine if we can stay within it. I mean, everybody just has a busy life and so.
I do appreciate the work sessions because it's a heads up. We find out information about something before it comes on to the regular meeting agenda. But I kind of
I do too,
like
but I'd
that,
like it
yeah.
if they wouldn't last 5 hours as well.
That's
We thought we
true.
started out well here today and we're out 25.
We did jinx ourselves.
Oh, that's right.
Woo-hoo.
Who,
Yeah, I'm
is
still
it
waiting for that
Beth up
gavel.
then?
Yep.
All right, we're gonna time.
You'll be sitting right next to him.
Oh, boy.
That'll be
Are you
fine.
gonna be able to handle snarky
Gavel
comments
will-
right in your ear?
The gavel will not be in the drawer. It'll be over on that side.
Just think of how many things I say
Watch your
underneath my
fingers.
breath.
Danny, the question you need to ask is Beth left-handed.
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna be.
She can probably kick with both.
I'm gonna have a
So we
have a
have
reaction now.
one other item that we absolutely have to address today, and first off, we need to go into closed session for that.
Andrew, is your report complete? At this time, I would like to close our session and
We need a motion to do so.
I'll make
We
a
have to have a
motion to
motion
go into
to
closed
close.
session.
I'll second that motion.
I would entertain a motion.
Is there a way that's supposed to read, or is that fine?
I would say, we'll make sure the motion says pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D subdivision.
I seconded that very same version.
Got it.
What she
Do you want me to
said.
pause and then swap out the,
We don't need to swap it out because it's attorney-client, so you can just pause it and we'll have the discussion.
okay, and you want me to?
Before you pause it,
Go ahead.
before you pause it, Madam Chair.
Who's
if
that?
I
Jeez.
may,
I thought it was
since
God
it's
speaking. It
Not
scared
God,
me.
I can tell you that. Otherwise, I'm above God since I'm the uncle.
Yeah.
The uncle.
I just want to make it very clear that this closed session is pursuant to the Minnesota statute 13D subdivision 3B attorney-client privilege. The only discussion that we will be having is relative to the county participation in the multi-state settlements relative to the opioid lawsuit. And so we will have no discussion about anything other than the current lawsuit. And then we will have, after we're completed with our discussion, we're going to have an open public. We'll just briefly talk about what we discussed. And then there's also a resolution that we will be deciding if we want to move forward with.
We have our motion. It has been seconded. We will take the vote. All those in favor of closing our session, say aye.
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 Opposed? Corey?
Well, we didn't last time, so
You can go ahead.
it's so late anyway.
That's true.
Are we ready?
Okay.
I'll
Okay, we
make
have resumed open session here. And we, I would entertain a motion for a resolution in regard to the opioid issue of discussion.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve a resolution authorizing county staff to execute all necessary documents to ensure county participation in the multi-state settlements relating to opioid distributors and manufacturers in the Minnesota Opioid State Subdivision Memorandum of Agreement and declaring support for support for an amendment to Minnesota Statute 256-043 Subdivision 3D.
We have a motion. I would entertain a second.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any further discussion
Did we need?
on the resolution, which I don't think we can do, probably?
No, you
or
can.
We can, but
Did we need Andrew mentioned in there as a signer in that motion?
It says staff, that's fine.
Staff, good enough? Okay, that's what
Should cover that.
That's
shouldn't
sufficient.
have that
Okay.
on the
All right.
back here.
I just
Any additional discussion, any other questions?
mentioned.
Okay, hearing none, this is a resolution, so it will require a roll call. Corey, could I ask you, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Oberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen.
Yes. Motion carries. Resolution is passed. All right, that takes care of this.
Merry Christmas, Brandy.
Yeah, there she goes.
It's gone.
Thank
Now-
you, you guys
Didn't
too.
have the,
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
don't have the usual spark in her today.
Yeah, that's right.
Must not be feeling well.
No. The next item on our agenda would be for committee updates. And we postponed them from the last
Oh, you
meeting.
postponed them all.
So we have,
Oh,
I'm not doubling mine, I'm just doing what I was at recently.
Mine is-
So I'm just gonna go first quickly. I had CCT. We had a lengthy discussion about they cannot drivers. So, against everybody's probably better judgment, we did not really, but we did an hourly increase of $1.25 an hour across the board. We're trying to get the bottom down, or up, I should say,
Instead of a percentage.
instead of a percentage, because hourly works better, obviously. The percentage, the lowest paid people get the least. And we're doing it during negotiations, so it's gonna be interesting. We're talking about a new facility, and we're looking at the recycling place that's right next to CCT in Wilmer. And there's some free money throw in here if I'm wrong, I think over $3 million that may be available through the state, but it has to be used soon. So we're rejuvenating, I should say, the building committee to try to look into that, or if it would be better to build a new place, cause they're out of room, so that's the deal. And Paul will be on that. Then I had hospital yesterday, and quickly, we just went over the past year. They've had a very good year. They're probably gonna be around 8% profit. We had a discussion on COVID, of course. Elective surgery is now on a case-by-case basis because of not having enough bed space for everybody. Dr. Deb was there and said, there's just there's no place to fly people out to when they're sick, so. Doctors are working hard, nurses are working hard. We had a discussion on some property that we own, there's gonna be some studies done on that. And then overall, for next year, the budget doesn't look quite as great, but we've given, and just jump in here if we've given some increases to get our employees up to market, so it's probably up to about 20% that, to get them up to where they need to be. And I think the new way of doing increase is gonna be market plus merit, so. That was that, then I had a shelter meeting, and that was the same discussion, obviously, we discussed the director's wages, we had to give it, I think, a $2 an hour raise across the board just to keep employees. We talked about Save Our Tails, we're gonna do it online again, so we're looking for sponsors, if anybody's got a basket or anything, Chief will buy beef or anything they'd like to donate, we'll raffle it off, that got his attention.
Yeah, I know.
We'll raffle it off
What?
He wants
online.
ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking for one more board member from, I would like to get them from Meeker if we can. They don't necessarily have to, but we like to keep it kinda even. And, good news, we were included in a couple of states, we not full, but I think 20% of some farmland down in Renville County. That's money's gonna be coming our way in another one, so we were named in a couple. And they weren't real specific, but, so that was good news. And I did not get to Woodland, and then we had VSO interviews, so that's me.
Very good.
CCT, as she said, we do have, in a savings account relating to that building that's been sitting there, about $4 million, but that's also for some buses that, we haven't gotten the 2020 new buses yet.
No.
Or the 2021 buses yet, and so, we've got some expenditures that are gonna come out of that.
However, we don't pay for the whole bus, we
No.
just pay a match up 20,000
Yeah,
or something,
Pretty,
so.
pretty small amount.
The fact of the matter is, if we had to fund CCT, we would not have public transportation. If we ever lose that funding, we just won't have public transportation, cause you wouldn't be able to afford to do it, there's no way.
I wouldn't think so.
That would be a huge loss. It's a wonderful service.
Absolutely.
So I was down in Renville County for JD1 meeting. We're such a small player in that, 2 to 4%.
Oh,
That's it. So we set the buffer strip. They had a similar issue as CD19 with water, where that is one of the reasons I asked Kale the question that I did, if it was under any type of conservation program like that, because that's gotten them into some holding issues as that gets figured out, so. But that is also where their boardroom is designed similar to ours, but this is much higher, so this is hidden. So anyone sitting in the audience doesn't see what you're doing on your computer, they know you're not looking at them, but this is that much higher, so,
That makes it better.
yeah, it does.
That was sarcasm.
I just, sometimes, when we're doing this and they don't know what we're doing.
Well, like my Surface Pro it's dead, and I wish I would've had somewhere to plug it in today, because it
Yeah,
went.
that's one thing, the batteries don't last
No,
very long.
and they don't last like they used to, and I don't know what that, I think an iPad lasts longer, doesn't it?
Yeah, mine,
There's a plug-in back here,
Yeah, we
but
do.
Well,
something to think about
I
when
agree.
we,
As we look at building stuff.
Then last week, ProWorks, we accepted a budget of $1,800,000. We have an income of $1,874,000, so we got about $67,000 to play for unexpected things that may happen during 2022. If everything holds and we don't have another shutdown or some goofy thing like that. The Again and Again store uptown, that took in $150,000 last year.
Wow.
So used clothing, dishes, and so forth sells very well. The Again and Again 2 in Dassel took in 132. So that was good.
so
Now,
how
do they
much,
have to
what is,
pay?
I'm
Do they
sorry,
have
go
to pay
ahead.
rent for those buildings?
Oh, sure,
So that's
There's some
not
expenses.
profit.
there's employees too,
But
did
that
they
was-
make any profit after it was all said and done?
Because a lot, they rent from the Masons here in town.
Sure.
Well, the Masons takes care of the insurance and does those little things, so all of those things add up.
Oh,
So, and they pay the people who work there are basically volunteers.
But they have a director, don't they, or
Yeah.
store managers?
Yep.
nice.
But it's just nice to see that all that stuff that people would discard is.
It's a good resource for people, I see people, needy people, get, kids, they go through clothes, and it's nice if you got a place to.
they do it,
go,
it's
so.
actually, it's pretty nice stuff.
Service.
It
to
is.
They
the
do a good
community.
job.
It is.
I should say.
It's clean, it's hung up there,
Yeah.
it's, and then they also have some land. that they're going to sell. In Dassel, they have a building that sits beside, in between, sandwiched in between Portadoc, Spectralytics, and a great big back area which they do not use whatsoever. It's probably about an acre and a half. They have to mow it, about all they do with it. ProWorks has expressed some interest in purchasing that, so if they're not gonna use it, we're certainly not gonna expand there, get rid of it. Somebody can use it, more power to them, put the money in and move on. Then, I also wanna thank Danny for this, one watershed, group he got.
Oh,
He might be
that's
being,
sarcasm
he
too,
might-
that's for sure.
might be being facetious, I'm not sure.
So
Whoa.
this is the South Fork, which includes Renville, McLeod, Meeker, Wright, County, Hennepin, but they're not gonna show up. And Hennepin's got just a little touch of that. So it was our organizational meeting. Paul Wright from McLeod is the chair. Randy Kramer from Renville is the vice. And we approved a preliminary planning budget of $218,000, which will be a grant that we'll get from Bowser. So, and Bowser had a representative there to kind of explain things. So it's in its infant stages. You know, really, this is projected to go over about 6 years in time, so. But it was interesting. I did, the gal from Bowser, the way she explained things, I kind of understood exactly what was going on with the one plan watershed, you know, that I didn't fully understand before, so. From that standpoint. Then the only thing I wanna add about the hospital, yeah, you said a projected, net income of about 3.5 million,
For next
which would
year.
be 8%. That's this year.
Oh, for this year's, yeah, 8%.
And
Next year
then
is less.
they're prepping for, the clinic, because the east and west clinics will then, they'll construct a new facility on the side, and they'll all be a part of one, so they can share the labs and all of that. It'll be a big efficiency mark, so they won't have to have things running around, and they won't have doctors doing the big circle, going between the hospital, the east clinic, and the west clinic, and vice versa, so.
That's been the talk for a while, which is why we own so many properties, and the discussion is just how many of these do we actually have to own, so.
Yeah.
There'll be a study, I think there's one study already done about adding a clinic on one side, so just trying to,
Future,
everything
down the
gets
road.
dropped when you get COVID, so just another discussion.
But I'll move it right along to Julie.
All right, I'm next. Well, Wednesday, November 17th, we had our local public health. Dr. Searle chairs that. We are looking for 3 new members. Today, we added 1. There's going to be some shuffle up there with the rearrangement of family services and public health, that position that was addressed today. They had received an $85,000 grant for Healthy Homes, helps people with radon and mold issues. At that time, which now is a month ago, 56 persons in Meeker County had died from COVID.
That was a month ago?
Yep. Minnesota at that time had 67% vaccinated, and Meeker County was 57%. We were the lowest county, I believe, in the state, which was a disappointment. Litchfield Clinic is taking appointments for ages 5 and up. Local schools are working with public health to try and get public health into the schools for vaccinations. We meet the 3rd Wednesday of the month. We approved the 2022 schedule for meetings. Went over the financial report. Things look good with public health. Bills are being paid. And Dr. Searle has agreed to be our president of the chair of the committee and to be the doctor representative once again. He does a very, very fine job. Also that day then, we all met at the arena at 5 o'clock for the Ditch 17 and 19 meeting. We were there. Barb and Andrew and John and Kale, about 25 other folks were in attendance. We took a motion at that time to approve the redetermination of benefits for Ditch 17, and we all know after today what happened with Ditch number 19. Danny, Steve, Paul, any additions to that report? No, okay. Friday, the 19th, I attended the audit of Meeker County, an audit which is done annually by the Office of the State Auditor. I attended as a Zoom person. This is a meeting held once a year, and the county chair attends that. Sharon and Andrew and Kada were in attendance with me, along with two auditors from the audit firm. We all attended this meeting. A corrective action plan was going to be put together to address some of the issues that were discussed. And the final report from their firm will be made available, and I believe all of that has already been done. Andrew, any additions?
No.
Okay, so
Are
that
we
was,
using, I'm sorry,
Last year,
I-
I think.
This is the
we're
last year with the OSA.
that was the we've been together too. I knew we were changing that up
We have
though.
to,
okay,
Yeah.
same thing, we had to give a year notice or
Okay,
whatever
got
to,
it.
we're gonna, I think, who did we,
with this auditing firm?
with the state, now we're
Okay.
going,
After many
To a private
court
firm.
battles, the state of Minnesota actually
Like a
had to
name,
take
right?
on some competition for their audits.
Ah,
And that went on for a long time, so we voted that we would use a private company,
okay,
and that starts this coming year.
Correct, yep, the 2021
it's a
audit will be.
2-year,
2-year commitment.
so.
so instead of an annual, it would be,
No,
Nope, no,
it's
no,
still
it's
annual
annual
audit, but it's
So,
good for.
so Julie, we use a state agency right now.
okay,
The Office of the State Auditor is a state agency. Next year, we're moving away from that to using a private firm.
oh, all right. Well, it was an interesting meeting for me, and I liked the idea of the action plan, and I have been kept up to date with that, and so that was on the 19th. The 23rd, we had our work session. We had two items there. Then on the 29th, we had the aquatic invasive species meeting. Paul and I attend this meeting. We approved grant requests. As $124,000 has been requested. We dealt with some of that today. Much discussion took place in regard to a grant request from Clear Lake. The committee is having the county attorney look into some submissions of applications. We approved the 2022 agenda for meetings. There are 107 lakes in Meeker County, 19 associations, and 11 lakes have invasive species. I found that interesting. Paul, anything to add?
Huh?
That was the
No,
daddy
I was
history
thinking
novel.
about the county attorney thing, no. Go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry.
Anything to add, Paul?
No.
No?
We got through the grants
Thank-
and.
We addressed some of those issues here today, and there will be more coming. Then in the month of December 1st, I attended the Homeland Security Emergency Management Training. Paul was with me there. It was in the basement of the courthouse.
Oh, you forgot that one.
Oh, you forgot that one. Okay, well, I'll include you. There were about 40 people, possibly, Paul, you agree? Several Meeker County townships and cities were representative. It was very informative. It's actually to determine what authority makes decisions in time of an emergency. Paul, you have anything to share?
Yeah,
Oh.
that was when Julie found out that she can declare a 7-day state of emergency in Meeker County.
Oh,
We
boy.
gotta get that gavel.
Oh, yeah.
It's in a drawer around here somewhere, but,
Only
Then
for
on-
another 10 days
yeah,
or so.
okay.
Then you don't get to it anymore.
I shop.
Then on December 9th,
Beth, I know where it is.
we had our regular meeting, of course, we were all there. Then on December 14th, we had the Budget and Levy meeting, Truth and Taxation hearing. It was here, 6 o'clock. We were all in attendance. It was open to the public. Andrew shared some very well-done PowerPoint. I thought it gave people in the attendance a wonderful snapshot of the 2022 budget. Well done, Andrew.
Isn't that good? Previous guy has put a pie up there.
Yeah.
No, it was- I like the way you did
I
it.
love pie
meant it
charts,
to-
so they're, they
Would you
speak
like
to me.
blueberry or pumpkin?
Pie
Yeah.
chart.
See, that's why you didn't. do
Strawberry.
pie.
Oh,
I
man.
actually think you were shorter and to the point, and I think that was good.
Yep, and I appreciated that. Yeah, everyone received a booklet.
That good.
The
What
one
day
thing,
was that? That was Thursday?
that was on December 14th.
Tuesday.
December
Last Tuesday.
14th.
Jeez, yeah.
I found it interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, that 49% of our budget is employee wages.
Correct,
Okay, and we have 213 employees.
yes.
All right, any other comments about that?
And that's, I'll just make a comment on the 49% that you mentioned. That's a good barometer when we're looking at our levy. I mean, when you have COLAs at 2%, that's half your wage. I mean, that's part of the factor that you know where your minimum is kinda gonna be every
Where
year.
it's all
You're
going.
starting in with a 1% levy going into it.
49%, yeah, I just went,
Yeah.
whoa.
Stop hiring people.
Yeah, that all plays into it, 49% of
Put
the
that on the
budget.
personnel committee.
Source. You're gonna see a new one this next year, I'll tell you, I'm gonna be a little tougher if I.
So, and then, yeah, let me see. I've received some nice little Christmas cards and thank you notes from things. That's always fun to receive those. And we have a work session coming up now, a week from today, on the 28th. Danny?
All right. I had North
You
Fork.
want me to open that so you can get your notes?
Oh, no, I got it right up here. Right up here. That way it's brief because I have a bad memory. I had a North Fork, one watershed, one plan, one of my two watershed, one plans that I'm on, 2 committees.
Okay.
Not much there to talk about. And then the Woodland Center's meeting, and they talked about the budget for 2022, and they talking about, I think, 480,000 to the good, but it's just a budget because they're doing this new, what, CCBHC?
CCBHC.
And with that comes new revenue. But right now, I think this year, we're gonna be behind probably about $1 million, so it'll take a couple years.
This is the worst year I've seen it, but I'm sure it's COVID related,
I don't know.
Everything.
short-staffed.
Yeah, so it's not been a great year for Woodlands in terms of the
Concerning.
bottom line. And they talked briefly about their COVID plans, and they're doing a lot of, religious exemptions and stuff. They're not being sticklers by any means, which is, I
I
think,
don't think
us.
anyone is, because I think the
afford to
realization
lose
is that
anybody.
we cannot lose any more people.
Yeah,
By the way, did you get the email on, we finally got the payment on the CCBHC, how much we're gonna get? Did you
Yep.
get the, so that's good.
Yep.
That's about double what
Yep.
we're getting, so 256 a call, I think it is. That will help the revenue go up.
yep,
Is it 256?
I think so.
258 something.
And that was pretty much about it. I mean, the main thing was the budget, but it's a budget. So, and they're
Make the meeting, so.
yeah, and budget. They're just guesstimating because they've never done this program before. So, hopefully, it turns out good.
And this program took, not to take up more time, but it took a lot of time and a lot of work, and you gotta have inspections. So they've been working on it for 12 months, I'm sure, and did it in, COVID was going on and actually got it in so they can start the first year. But when you go in there, you don't know what you're gonna, you're gonna get more, but you don't know how much more you're gonna get. So I think, were they happy with that, or they didn't know at the time?
Well, I mean, it's a positive. So, I mean, it's 490,000. So,
Yeah.
you're talking, but you had to increase your salaries this year in order to hit those specs they had there to be more positive in terms of that. So it'll take 2 years to kind of break even. It's the way I looked at it.
Well,
Just for
they
this
had to
year
hire more
alone.
people.
Hire more people. So
Yeah.
I don't know how the long-term thing is going to affect.
It'll be
because
interesting to see.
You're going to have more staff, and you never get rid of staff, it seems like.
But I think right now we've had more retirees, and mental health being the issue it is, I worry for the future because we always need more help people and we're not getting them. And a lot of that has to do with they're going into private practice or just quitting. They're done.
Yeah.
The great resignation. I don't know.
Anybody with a medical degree goes to be a doctor, not
Yep.
a psychiatrist, because it's more pay. Unless they have something, in their own family that they care about that way. And I had those other things, taxation, but we don't need to go into that. That's it.
Okay, Steve?
Grove City Care, I've had a couple meetings with them. We had a little problem there. They had to change their DHS, the title of their work from home program. They had to change so that when they filed their 990 tax form, it didn't coincide at the federal government. So then all of a sudden they got a $3,000 penalty for not paying taxes because they couldn't track the 990 form. So we've been arm wrestling with them for about a month and a half now, and
They can't find anybody else to pick on. That's just sad to me.
so anyway, the latest was that they and actually Andrea texted me during the meeting here, but, to get a hold of her, but they said that they would, they made note of it, they have till end of February, but they will still charge you interest. I mean, but it's like, well, I think that's a win, but I'm not sure. So that'll be an ongoing thing, so that's a little bit of a concern over there, but, other than that, everything is going well. Then AMC, we were down there, Andrew, Paul, myself. And I would just recommend next year, maybe if you guys get an opportunity to take a day or something and look at the agenda and find something. There's a lot of information there. I think it's very beneficial to the board overall as a whole, and it puts you in the room with some of these conversations with other counties and what their issues are and stuff. I think it's just a good.
Plus you get pens.
Oh,
Pens.
yeah, pens.
I got one anyway, that ain't cold, so I feel
I got one.
it spoiled me, so.
There's a cute one.
But
Got
just
'em with me.
just public service announcement on that one. CMJTS basically approved the annual audit. They got a clean bill of health there. So that is good. Other than that, I missed last week's Emergency Services Board meeting. And I had one other thing here, I thought, but, I know what it was. I did attend, the trauma, you were talking about trauma earlier today, and I did attend a presentation down at AMC on trauma and the cortisol levels, and the cortisol levels in the brain are directly related to trauma. That's ADHD, OCD, ADD, and several other acronyms that I don't know what they stand for, but
Several other than DD.
but and the presenter for that was a Norman County Public Health nurse, Tracy Johnson. So it was very interesting. But and with that, I'm gonna close this thing.
It sounds like you could use a little good news. So Grove City Care, we had a meeting last night and I overheard they donated $1,000 from the Legion to Grove City Care. I think they got a request, so.
Yeah, no, that's
Madam Chair,
much appreciated.
would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I don't know.
I'll second that entertainment.
You set a new record before you got off his chair. You'll
waiting
hold that
for the
record
last
for a while.
Go in
Before
style.
this meeting even started, somebody said, we won't get out of here till 2:00. And
Where-
I'm not gonna say who said it, but
Is she wearing a
whoever
red sweater?
said it
Red sweater?
No,
it was
somebody's
not
right
me.
here.
was not me.
Well, I wear the badge with pride.
I knew you would.
I wear it with pride. Well, I would definitely entertain.
Hold on one second.
Oops, wait a minute, maybe we won't.
Maybe as a board, we just publicly acknowledge happy holidays to all of the employees that make Meeker County a great county.
Yeah.
To them and their families, and wish them well. And a happy
Yes, Merry.
holidays.
Merry
You said
Christmas.
maybe. I'll confirm
I say
that
yeah.
should be a confirmation. No, I appreciate all the work.
All of
everybody
you that
does.
don't have to go to your in-laws.
For those of you that do.
Honey, I think that's 4 today.
I'm going for a record too. Yeah.
Bears in the football game.
Been in the chair too long.
Yeah. Can you get impeached from being a commissioner?
what
It
you're
was
trying
that
for?
easy.
Gotta looking at my Eagles.
Yes, that's a nice thought. We wish peace, joy, and good health, and a Merry Christmas to all of our colleagues here at Meeker County. That's very nice. Merry Christmas to all.
And with that, I'll reintroduce my motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.